to hell. In the dark you hear a growl. Monsters in the night, unnatural appetite. A demon sent me here to take you to the afterlife. I feel something change inside of me. The inner human slowly dead in me. I feel it come alive. The darkness brings me light. There ain't no stopping it, and you will never hide from me. Pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's time to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's time to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. I'm still inside. I'm still here. What have I done? When did this all start? I have become a monster in the dark. A hunger like no other. Running on instinct. Was this creature always inside of me? The pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's time to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's time to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. You better hope so too. You better hope so too.
A dreaded flag, a vengeful sea. Be careful what you say. There's always someone listening. The Dutchman tossed on the sea. I swore and the devil heard me. Now we're doomed to sail the seven seas for eternity. So yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must tow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. A sinister grin across his face said, you'll be doomed to this place. The devil heard my oath, shame of my boast. Oh, a ghostly ship from the depths, freedom from fear is the only gift of death. like those before. We're an omen of the ocean night. When you see the flying Dutchman, it's too late for your soul. To the waters we gave now our breath. Yo, ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must flow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo, ho, let the ocean winds blow. Yo, ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must flow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo, ho, let the ocean wind blow.
All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner, and this is PRT. It's time. Do what?
Argumentus.
Yeah. PRT stands for Pretty Righteous Time. That's what it is. This is my villainous Scottish accent. My friend from Scotland, well, one of my friends from Scotland who gave us a story not too long ago, he said that I don't have a good Scottish accent. He said, I don't talk like that. It was like, really? Yeah, you do.
Maybe you don't, but there's someone in your country who does.
Oh. That's where what's his name is from, Gerard Butler.
Mhm.
I think your microphone sounds a little bit off. Try it again.
Am I coming in okay, everybody?
No, you're not. That sounds weird. Try it again.
Yeah, I got like a weird buzz.
Yeah, there's like something. It sounds like it might be. No, it looks like it's plugged in.
You know what that is, Anthony?
What is it?
I mean, do you hear it when I talk? There's like a
Yeah, so you're talking a little bit too close to the mic, and then
If you do that, it doesn't.
I have this. Well, I have one of the headphones turned all the way up, and I turned it down now, so it's kind of like you're hearing your voice and your voice through the headphones.
Yeah. See,
okay.
Maddie says you're sounding extra Shaq today. You do sound like Shaq. Too much gain.
Yeah, on the live stream, you don't have to get so close to the mic.
See, and Joseph agrees with me. He says, yes, Wolf. You're a yes man, Joseph. Don't be a yes man. Don't just go along with me.
You better.
Disagree. Make it realistic. You know, we're paying you big money to agree with me on the chat comments. That's the latest little story. We're paying people to be in our chats.
Well, you
We're a
make the big bucks.
corporation.
Hey, you know what? A full everybody. Let's pay people to be in our chats.
Yeah, and everyone who gives the giveaway is
yeah.
part of the corporation too.
Everybody. Only people that win the giveaways are the fake people. That's oh my gosh. Their storylines never cease to amaze. Some funny stuff. One of my old friends, I was talking to him today, and he asked me, it wasn't even about it, he asked me how the show's going. And he's then started watching it and getting into the show recently because he was never really into it. Just because of all that stupid drama that was going on. He was just like, I want to know what's going on with my friends here. Are they evil? I've known him for 24 years. Did he turn dark? It's like, unfortunately, I hate to break everyone's bubble. It's really not a big deal. It's just a few people with big mouths. Not a Lifetime movie drama like they would. You ever notice with Lifetime movies, they're always like, not to talk crap, ladies, but they're always like aimed at us. It was him or us. Like that was literally the title for one of them, you know?
Well, yeah, and they always show women like being helpless and getting victimized
Getting
and beaten
beat.
up. Like, how is that empowering?
Like there's
I don't
always
get
a
it.
woman getting beaten with something, you know, like the Lifetime
Yeah, I want to
original.
feel I want to feel empowered. Let me go watch my fellow women getting beaten up and
Yeah,
mistreated. And,
Ah, yes, the Battered Wife channel.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, dude. It's like they hate men.
Yeah.
They hate men. And these men like, and they'll get these retread actors to get on there too. Like Richard Greco stars with,
Yeah.
you know, whoever, you know, what's her name? What was it? She was on one of them. Oh, anyway, it doesn't matter. Whoever, Diane Lane. They'll be like, Diane Lane stars with Richard Greco.
Yeah.
You remember him from 21 Jump Street? Now he's beating the crap out of her.
Starring Tom Selleck.
Diane Lane gets beaten with a bat in the Lifetime original Bat. You know, wow. I'm gonna watch that. Yeah, D says it was him or us. It was. D, me and T were the reason he said that is because we were all sitting there one day, and our cable was messing up. So we were flipping through the channels, and so we called. You know, back then you call the cable company. It's a true story.
Yeah.
We called the cable company. They said, "Well, pick a channel, just stay on it, and then we'll go to the next channel." And we go to the you remembered that. That's why I said that. So there was this Lifetime channel, you know. So when you turn on the cable box, I'm not making this up. This is a true story. And it comes from the cable company that was there before Time Warner. And I thought of it the other day. I was driving and I was like, you know, you get some weird, I can't remember.
I think it was called Charter.
Charter, that's what it was. And yes, thank you. We were trying to remember. We were trying to remember. And so it always started off on Lifetime. And so my brother calls him up. He says, "Why is it always start on Lifetime? It's either that or ESPN." They said, "Well, it's the last channel you were watching." And I said, bull crap, because there were 4 of us and we were all dudes working at the freaking bar and stuff, you know, downtown. I said, "Ain't nobody in my house watching no Lifetime. I'd be the last person watching. It's always ESPN usually."
One of the guys had
baseball.
a guilty pleasure.
Probably Scorp.
Yeah.
Scorp, you know, you're watching Lifetime Network. Don't be lying. And so Squid was like, "Hey, this is ridiculous." At any given time, there's 4 or 5, you know, of us living there, you know, off and on. My guys would go and they'd end up like, "Well, I'm gonna go live with this girl." And that would work out for about 2 weeks until he did something and made her mad. Usually other women, you know, they'd be like, "She's tripping, yo. Just because I went out with her friend, she's all tripping." I'm not saying women don't have a right to be mean because men are dogs. I know. Yeah. I had a lot of friends that were just, they would try to tell me their side of it. And I'm going like, yeah, maybe try the not cheating part. That totally makes them upset. I don't know why they get so mad about it. I'm just saying they don't like that when you 2-time them. They're just different people. They're different than guys. And the guys are like, "I know, right? It's ridiculous."
If you're going to do that, like there are ways to do it without feeling like a piece of crap. Like you can convert to Mormonism or
that's the ticket right there.
Or you can become a Muslim.
Mormons.
Certain sects of Muslims are polygamous. You know, like that. There are channels you can go through.
They get Scorpion here
to do this properly. Okay, if that's what you're into. I don't know why you would be into that, but do it right. If you're gonna be weird correctly. That's all I'm saying. Be smart about it.
Join the Mormon army, or the Marmy. Join the Marmy.
Yeah.
You ever seen the commercials? Be all that you want to be. Be a man. Join the Marmy. You haven't heard that? And you're like, "I don't want to do that. That guy's got like 6 wives."
Yeah.
No, dude, you don't. Okay. Stick to one. Try not to get killed. That's all I'm telling you. I'm joking, honey. Please don't. I'm making a joke. This is jokes. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, we make them ha-has.
Making them ha ha funny ha-has.
I was fooling y'all.
So you have these. We already got some people jumping into the queue here. Cool. So what we got is people who don't realize how to be, you know, a good boyfriend or husband, whatever. I'm not saying I was back in the day. There's some women out there going like, "He was a piece of crap." You know, like, but you eventually learn. You know, you knock it off, knock your crap off. You have to. So guys, wash yourself. You know, take a bath. I hear that a lot. The guys don't take baths.
Take a bath.
Wash yourself. That's where I messed up.
Take a bath.
Could have been having all these girls.
Get a haircut, you know, get some cologne, smell good, you know, try to look good, you know what I'm saying? Everything's good. But now these people, they don't know what they're doing. And it's really sad. But you know, the Lifetime Network is just an epitome of what's been going on. So we were watching that one day, right? Because we were on the and they were saying, what does it look? What does the picture look like? And D's like, "I don't know. It's some movie, Him or Us." And the guy on the phone goes, "Oh, you must be on the Lifetime Network." He knew. Like he knew. That's a true story. I kid you not, man. But that was funny. But it was always on ESPN or whatever. I watched a lot of baseball, and people think it's boring, but I'm like, people watch golf. Funniest thing, my friend at the dealership.
People watch soccer too.
I know.
Ugh,
That's
can't fathom.
that's dangerously boring. What's crazy though is one of my friends. He's like, I can't watch baseball. As he turns around, he's looking at golf, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Jeez,
I stick to high intensity sports like ping pong or
burning a lot of calories, man.
Chess.
Doing too many
Chess.
of those high intensity sports, and you can't afford that. Yeah, goal. Yeah, exactly. Scorp's here. Scorp, we were just D was telling everyone that you were watching the Lifetime Movie Network. I wasn't involved in that. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't make fun of my friends behind their back when they're late to the live stream. I'm not that guy. It's not me. Yeah, baseball games live are great. It is so much fun to watch. It's a little more boring, but as the season, I start watching baseball like in September. Let's put it that way. Like I start paying attention because the playoffs are about to begin, and then I'll watch the playoffs if my teams are involved. Otherwise, like I might catch a game or two. That's about it. I don't really try. And it's Astros, Rangers, and Red Sox. So Sugar Britches says, you want to be green? Please consider becoming a member of this awesome channel. Join loyal listeners for the CN. There you go. Christian Ardano says, any Duende stories? Christian, where were you last night, dude? Toward the end of the episode, werewolves. What is it? What was it? What did we name it? What do we call it?
No, werewolves terrorize the logging camp. You talking about the last live
What
stream?
a colorful name. It wasn't okay. Okay. We should have said werewolves terrorize Cedar Park or the Brushy Creek. Anyway, I don't know what it was called. I guess you named it, so you would know. It was called Werewolves of the Logging Camp, or terrorizing logging camp. So whatever. But I guess that was what it was. But we already had a story like that from the Canadian. Well, he's not a Canadian, but he was living in Canada. Clint was his name. So we ended up talking toward the end there. What's up, Abe? One of our brothers right there, brother in Christ. So we ended up talking about it last night. The Duende, and it was that story that the guy had, and it was that if you guys are in the queue waiting, just hang on, be patient, just watch the show from there. We'll get to it. Waiting to let some people get in here. And it was an area off of Burleson. It was like a warehouse. And that area right there in that four-way stop, a lot of people have died. A lot. Like there have been a lot of people who've had accidents at that four-way stop. It's a basic four-way stop. I don't know why people would be. It doesn't make any sense. Anytime I've ever been there, I haven't really.
I don't know. Austin drivers don't surprise me.
One time I was headed to Colorado Crossing when it was being built. And that's where I heard the footsteps around the truck. And I saw a bad accident, and I was on my way, and I was like, the EMS was there, everybody was there, and it was like you could tell that somebody probably had been unalived.
Yeah.
So it's pretty rough. That's the only time in all the years, and I used to have to drive through there all the time when I worked at Gold Tech, and I was just like, what in the heck? But that particular warehouse was where that video was taken, and it was Ernest's friend that did the, wasn't it? Because we were trying to remember his security camera,
Yep.
And it was like a little manito, as he said, little man, looked like a little dude or some kind of something.
Yeah, some kind of like imp or something.
Yeah, and it ran and it slammed all the lockers. I saw it. It was a weird thing. I don't know what that was, but anyway, we never did figure out. So we were getting coffee earlier, Summer Moon, and a shout out to Brooke. That's her name, Brooke, who she showed us the video with the.
It's a ring, or I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, tell them what it is.
Well, it's a ring footage of the first one is like an orb, and it's just like, well, if you don't know how ring cameras work, or basically those cameras that for the doorbells, they're motion censored and they're connected to your phone. So once the phone kind of senses something, it'll send you a notification on your phone. And the first one she had was just this orb, and she was telling us like my phone was going off for like 10 minutes. So, but as I was going through the videos, I see this orb just kind of shoot real quick, and it's like I live on the 3rd floor, so there's no lights anywhere, and it was very obvious, just a light was passing by. But the creepier one to me is the second one.
The shadow.
The second one is a shadow that floats up in front of the camera.
Yeah, and so as you guys have probably, if you've been keeping up, we've had some activity on at our place, and last night it kind of came to a head. So we had to do a cleanse after the show. After the show, we did the patrol, and then we went home, and some stuff started popping off. Our dogs have been barking at something that we can't see. And so we did a cleanse last night, and I think that it's helped. I'm hoping, but I had to go in there today by myself in there to grab some stuff as we were getting ready to leave, and I felt something. But it's not like it was. Now, people, let me explain something to you before we get started here. We almost have 300. Villain, Vids, and Chato, just hang on. They're the two that are in the queue right now. Yeah, if and Abe, if you're in the chat, if you're listening, if you get a hold of Sayla Nemesis to get her in here, because we wanted her to give our. She was saying yesterday she was going to do it. She's going to come in and do her Lechusa thing, story. So I'm wondering, because like if people really know what it is to wage spiritual warfare, it's not something that's pleasant, until it's over. And so it's really, it was hard. So we had to do a cleanse last night of the house, and these things were moving around. It started out, me and Tony, we heard it. We're not going to get into all the details or anything like that, but we heard it.
We were sitting in his room. Everyone here was.
And we were talking about the show and stuff like that. And,
we heard it on the stairs. You heard it, and then you asked me if I heard, or you asked everybody if they heard something. And I was like, I heard, like, it sounded like footsteps.
You and I heard it.
Yeah.
Because Nellie was over here and Anthony was across the room. And you were standing over, or you were sitting over the other side. And it sounded like something walking. And now Scorpion and I have both heard that. And yeah, it's in one day, a couple of days ago, me and Tony, Elvira was barking at something, and she went down the stairs and was growling.
Well, no, that was the same day.
No, that was yesterday.
Yeah, that was last night. Yeah.
No, that was the day before.
No, that was last night. It was right after we came home from the show. She started like because you opened the door to your room.
I thought that was when we came home from the conference.
That was right after the show.
Okay.
So that's what got us in that kind of like weird mood. And then when it happened again, we were like, no, we got to cleanse it because Elvira saw it first.
That would have been because that would have been like before the show.
No, it was after. It was right as soon as we got home.
Well, anyway, she's done it multiple times.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
But like, you yesterday or
before
whatever.
all of that, remember, like you had thought that I walked into your room.
Yeah.
And that I was standing there, and like I heard you talking to somebody, and then like
I thought it was you.
No, because like I walked by your room to go past it, and I heard you talking to somebody, and and so I circled back, and I was like, "Hey, were you talking to me?" And you look back, you were like surprised that I was standing in the doorway instead of up against that wall, and you're like, "Yeah, you were just right here." I was like, "No, I wasn't. I didn't go in your room. I just walked past it," and you're like, I could have swore that was you standing right there. I saw it. So
yeah,
that was just strange.
Yeah, some weird stuff's been going on, and it wasn't like that when we first moved in.
And there was something there from Jump Street, and it's in what is now Scorpion's room. And that room was going to be my study, and then he ended up, deciding to rent a room or whatever because he was staying somewhere else, and then he decided he was going to come. It was up to him, and you would walk by there, and I talked to Nellie about it, and I was like, I don't know if I want that to be my study because there's something there, and I'm going to have to do it and folks, it helps to have people with you. I know you want to be like Conan and go into battle by yourself or whatever, and if you're by yourself, you have no choice. You got to do it. But the thing you got to do is they'll put fear in your mind initially.
And doubt.
Don't lose your faith. And those words are very powerful. I rebuke you in the name of Christ. Repeat them and keep repeating them until it that you have to keep doing it and keep reaffirming it until. So you got to keep repeating it and reaffirming it until it stops. And then after we did the first cleanse, it tried to come back, but I don't think that it was the same things. I think it was something else, because I think there was stuff that was there, then there was stuff that was sent there. And so we had to do some work, and we went to each room and we did a cleanse. And I'll talk more about this on the Patreon. We're going to do that after the show. If anybody wants to stick around for that. And bless you. And if you're around, Abe, I'll throw you a link and you can join the Patreon and we can talk about it and give your opinion. But Abe is the guy to talk to about that for sure. And we had to do it. We had to get rid of this energy that was there, this demonic presence. So yeah, it was just let me bring on our first person here and put on my headphones. Villain Vids. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. Hey, how's it going, dude?
Good.
I wrote you on Facebook about a month ago that I had some kind of spell cast on me. I was having a problem with a witch.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it started, I guess, in November. My wife and I have been separated since August. Since then, things worked out, but she contacted me on Facebook, this girl, and it was like everything lined up. I got, and we started talking for a couple of days, and then I don't know, about a week into it, we decided to meet. And she was different, not my type at all, nowhere near my type. And the tattoo she had, she didn't tell me what it was until after I met her. But as soon as I get off work one day early, and it was weird how everything aligned. I show up at her house, and the first thing she does when I meet her is kiss me.
Wow.
And dude, it was like, it was like some kind of switch just flipped. Turns out that the tattoo on her face was Baba Yaga.
Mm-hmm. How Baba Yaga is a very broad term, though.
It was, I mean, it was the classic, the house with
the chicken
feet.
Okay.
The chicken feet, yes.
Right, so.
She was born in Russia, and she was adopted and brought here when she was 8. But man, it was like, and there's no doubt that Jesus died for my sins.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he's my savior. And man, I've had weird things happen, but I've never had anything just completely switch it on me. We walked into her house. I mean, she had she was a witch. She didn't say anything about this until after we'd met and stuff like that. And man, it's like none of it even fazed me, where I would never associate with it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's just not my thing.
Well, I mean, some people think that women that have tattoos of witches on their face are like the cat's meow. I mean, I guess you're not one of them.
No, not me. No.
Like, wow.
No.
Ooh.
Right. No, man. It was
youngsterish,
Yeah, that's not it's not my bag, baby.
Not my cup of tea either.
No.
When I first got with Nelly, I was like, "You're not getting that face tattoo. Knock it off." She's like, "It's just I painted on one at the carnival. I don't care. I'll divorce you."
Right.
Like, okay, she didn't get it.
And dude, weirdest thing, I've never dated a lesbian before, and she was actually in the process of getting a divorce from her wife.
Wow.
Been a lesbian for 20 years.
And she just up and decides, "Hey, I'm gonna play for the other team," or what?
I guess so, man. I guess so. None of this was brought up beforehand. But dude, I mean, it was like after that, for the next like 2 months, I was totally engulfed. Like I couldn't see anything. Like they said I became completely different.
So there was a guy that came on here once before. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't remember his name, but he was on one of these episodes, but it wasn't like the ones we've been doing recently. It was several months ago. And he had a weird experience. He was with a woman who had, was he gay or she was gay or something? And the woman she told him she was married to a woman or something like that. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, I think so.
And then she kissed him, and then she shapeshifted in his car.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? Yeah, that guy was on our show, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's weird. This is not the first time we've had somebody tell us something like this. I think at this point we've heard it all, but then sometimes people will get, like, somebody gave me a Dogman story the other day, and it was like, okay, it involved more than just Dogman, and I was like, whoa, because I think these things are evil. They do evil things. It sounds like you came across somebody pretty evil. So what happened? So this person decided to warp your mind or mess with your mind?
Yeah, man. She, dude, we were inseparable for the entire month of November and December. And then January rolled around, and I came down because she lived about an hour north of me. And I had pretty much moved up there. I mean, it was crazy, dude. And I came down here, was supposed to go back up there the next night, and I haven't seen or talked to her since.
Was she, and I got to ask this question, but was she beautiful?
No. No.
That's okay, guys, let me just say this real quick. If you're a guy, this is how guys think. Girls are like, well, he wasn't very attractive, but he had a great personality. Guys are like, yeah, I don't care about the personality. Look, if it's a hot girl, but if it's not, and you're all enthralled by this girl that is not pretty, okay, I'm just gonna say this: guys don't do that.
Yeah,
I've thought about my friends sometimes being bewitched because I'm going like, they're like, yeah, man, she's really pretty, and you're going like, oh, what? Like, she's an insectoid, but you can't. What are you gonna do? You can't tell your friends. You hear that song, turn your back on your best friend if he puts her down when a man loves a woman. So you can't tell these guys. Yeah. You can't go, that's a bruja, man. What are you doing? like she literally flew in the bar on a broom. What are you doing? Like
you're dating Yoko Ono.
Yoko Ono.
Man, I mean, it was like
off really badly.
And I would find myself, we'd be sitting there watching TV or something, man, and I would find myself like, what am I doing here? And I could think it in the back of my mind. I was like, she has cast some kind of spell on me. She took all the Baphomet stuff in the house down, all the witch stuff down.
Oh, yeah, but it was
still there.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, man, because it messed me up. It was like there was like a hole that I couldn't fill, man. I finally started purging anything that I had of hers. I had to purge it all. I mean, dude, I've been, confessing everything to Lord in prayer.
Sure.
I mean, everything that I could possibly do. And that's the reason it took me so long to finish writing or to call in, because every time I would start, it was like it would creep back up on me.
Mm.
And man, my life has been completely going upside down since, like my job, everything. It's been nutty. but I think it's finally starting to level out because I finally was able to.
And what do you have a name? Because I mean, you don't have to give. You don't have to give us your real name. But what can we? I don't want to call you villain. I mean,
No, you can just call me Lee.
Okay, Lee. So Lee, let me ask you a question because you don't seem like a villain. You seem like a nice guy. But you went through all of this. 2 questions. Number one, did you learn anything? And before you answer that, let me ask you the second question. You can put them together. But like, at what point did you go, I think this is a witch, and I think that this is absolutely, she has put, you were confirming that the spell, there was something that made you, that bewitched you.
Honestly, that first day that we went and met, she kissed me because I remember walking up to the door, to her garage door, and she was sitting outside. She was sitting in her garage, and I remember thinking, she doesn't look anything like her pictures.
Who would have thought it, right? With the,
right? I was like, there's some filter going on here.
Yeah.
There's some heavy filters, babe.
The last time you pay that.
Snapchat's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And then, dude, she walked up and kissed me, and that thought went away. We went in the house, after an hour or so, went in the house, did the thing, came back out, and that's when she told me she was a witch.
Mm.
And because I remember thinking in my head right before that, in the back of my head was like, what the hell am I doing? Because that's not me, man. I mean, it's just not me. That's just, it's
Lee,
never been something I've done.
This is a teachable moment too. I'm going to tell everybody, if you want to learn a little something, and this is my take on it, but I've been around the block a million times, and I can tell you this. And I got Abe C's in the chain. Abe says catfish is yeah, exactly. And then Maddie said catfish alert. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. But let me give you my take on this. Now, I've seen this before, and I've heard of this quite a bit. People telling me all the time that something is not right, And one of the things I keep telling people is that when you have an attachment, that's a parasite, okay? And in particular, how it does what it does, it's like, take your fingers like that. The bottom part is, this is true. It's like a stinger, and it attaches itself to the lower chakra, your lower spine, and then the top part, they bite onto, they wrap around your neck. And they can have, and I know people expect a demon to look like us, like it's a humanoid shaped thing. It's not necessarily. Because this wouldn't even be, like Tony, you were talking about this last night when we did the cleanse. You were talking about how it doesn't matter, what, they're not going to take a form just like us, because this isn't
It's
it's a cumbersome form.
Yeah, it's a cumbersome.
Yeah.
It's not effective to do this form.
So they look kind of like this. Think of like a more advanced alien face hugger, some of them. And some of them have like this dragon looking head. I'm not even joking. I think David Icke had talked about this in his book. People thought he was crazy. I'm telling you, I've seen this in my mind's eye, and they'll latch on to the back of someone's neck and part of their head, and people will start to get headaches and lower stomach aches, right? They'll have problems, and your lower back will hurt all the time. The middle of your back will start to hurt. And I'm not talking about being overweight and just, whatever. People like,
we're just unhealthy.
I got an attachment. I'm 800 pounds. I can't walk. Well, that's because you're overweight. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your knees and your back hurting because you eat too much pizza. I'm talking about these, these things really attaching themselves to you. And one of the things I've been telling people is it's a parasite. And you can get these things through saliva. And I am not joking, because they reproduce. A person who is practicing black magic or witchcraft, they don't even know. I can tell you this right now. They don't know, or they don't care. And what they'll do is they'll be practicing this, and this thing will attach itself to them, and they think they're getting all this power. Well, this thing is sucking on their life force and their energy. So these people become energy vampires or energy vacuums themselves. A witch is really an energy vampire. And what they'll do is particular types of witches. And witch is a very broad term. It's a very broad term. People say things like, there's a witch. Well, what kind? But there are different levels. There are. And these people that practice these, that send spells, most of them, I'd say most of them are unaware that something is really attached itself. I'm too strong for that because they think that these devils really give a crap, but they don't. They really don't. And then
No.
what they'll do is that they'll basically have babies. I'm not even joking. Like this thing will have like spawn that become independent entities that are independent from them that have their own consciousness. I'm not kidding. Demons actually do reproduce. People don't believe that. They don't think that's correct, but
Well,
it is.
because they don't reproduce the way.
And they can
would
die.
think.
They can die.
Yeah.
You can actually unalive them. There's a whole technique about it. But I'm not going to get into a whole big old thing. And I'm saying something that probably sounds completely alien to a lot of people, but this is the truth. And I personally really believe that parasite can manifest itself physically. And I think parasitic cleanse needs to be done physically, mentally, and spiritually. It needs to be a whole. The problem with everything, Lee, and I'll tell the audience this, I'll tell you this. The way that the elite and everybody who's been destroying our world have gotten us is through compartmentalization. They've done it with everything. Everything is compartmentalized because then the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing and the middle is completely lost. And so what ends up happening is you got to go to this guy for this and this lady for that and this dude for this and this gal for that. And you're running around, you know.
The heart doctor doesn't talk to the foot doctor.
They don't. And that's a problem. Compartmentalization. And now in this field, you have alien abduction, you have ghosts, you have Dogman and Bigfoot. And people from Dogman don't want to deal with Bigfoot and vice versa. And then you have people in the ghost community and they'll shun somebody that's into aliens, and the people from the alien community want Bigfoot people. And they're not playing together, and nobody's putting the pieces together. And I'm sitting up here going like, hey,
it's all related.
It's all connected. The same thing happens with religion, and they all hate each other, and then they kill each other because the powers that be tell them to. And everybody is lost, and nobody is paying attention. I think you should try to learn as many languages as you can. I know that can be hard for some people, but you need to, and you need to study other cultures. And just instead of going, there's a bunch of brown people, I hate them, you know. They're dirty and they stink. You know, you got to stop that crap. That's a childish way to look at the world. I'm not telling you to go and join a cult and become we're all one. You know, I'm not talking about that because we're not all one. We are one, but not. You know, we all have individuality. But these demons, they hatch and it gets into their blood. I believe that that's what happens in the severe cases of vampirism and werewolfism or lycanthropy. Because you would have told me this a few years ago, I never would have believed any of it. I thought you're crazy. These are just people having encounters with whatever. But now I look at it differently. And I think the audience has kind of grown with us. And I've done so much work on this and research on this. And I really think that's what's going on. When she kissed you, the parasite was already, it jumped in.
Yeah.
It goes straight to the brain and it confuses you. And these are parasites, folks. If you were to drink, I'm not even kidding. You think I'm joking. If he would have drank some colloidal silver after that, he probably would have been fine. I'm not even joking. It would have killed that. But the spiritual essence is still there because they vibrate. The only difference between them and us, you listen to what I'm going to tell you, everybody, is a vibration. You understand something? You got 4 wheels on your truck, right? One of them gets a soft spot for sitting too long, right? It throws off everything. The whole thing is you got the mental, physical, spiritual, right? You got to make a connection with all of those because if you don't put them all in line, one of them is off. It doesn't matter. If you're physically ill, it throws off everything. You're spiritually ill, it throws off everything. People are walking around thinking they have mental illness and they have attachments. They're demonically oppressed, dude. And you remove that attachment and all of a sudden they don't have the problem. The mental problem. But try getting a clinical psychologist to be able to see that. And then they're like, well, we took a look at their brain and their brain is messed up. You know why? Because there's a parasite in there. And you know,
I was having spurts of my arms going numb. I was finding like these deep bruises all over my body for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was nutty.
Yeah. And so people don't realize this. There are signs of being cursed. You'll have signs of it. There are signs there that dreams, you'll start having these wacky dreams. You don't know whether you're awake or you're asleep and you know, and you're starting to like think, did I just see that? You start to see things and it's not like these things are just coming to you all of a sudden. They've been there. But now you're seeing them because the parasite in you that's growing, that demon, is now maturing, and it's looking through your eyes. So you're seeing what it sees. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so then you're starting to go, oh, whoa, what was that? Whoa, what is, and that's because that's what these werewolf people, that's what they were telling me. They're like, when the parasite takes hold, and they quit calling it the other, the werewolf guy, he just called it the parasite. The other ones were saying the other. He was like, the parasite. Charles was very forthcoming about it. And he's like, it's a parasite. He goes, and you start to see what the parasite sees. And you start to smell, because you can smell blood from a mile away. And then you're like, and then you start wanting to eat it. He goes, I never even liked rare steak. This parasite takes over. Next thing you know, I'm wanting to drink blood. He actually told me, he said he went to a slaughterhouse and bought pig's blood.
Oh,
Can you
Lord.
believe that? And he ate it and drank it. And this isn't a vampire. This is the guy that was changing into the wolf. The vampire people, they're doing it all the time. And the same
I don't know
thing.
how you get that stuff extra crispy, because that's the only way I eat my bacon.
But it's just, I mean, it's wild. It's nuts. And then you start to have this craving for things that you would never think of eating, like cow brains and things like that. It's nuts, man. And I think that what ends up happening, somebody just asked a very good question.
Yeah,
why I love my audience so much.
Yeah.
D Truth, what's up, brother? It says, Josh, do you think these parasites can attach to dog venom? But yes, because they come into our world. And like I said, it's a frequency, and they vibrate, and they're in our world, right? This is my theory. You don't have to believe it if you want to. Don't hate me because I believe differently. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. I love you anyway. Okay. But here's the thing. If they come into our world and is it like Linda Godfrey used to say, the late Linda Godfrey, who I learned a lot from about it and her theories, and they start to turn into this, whatever. She told me and Tony, she said, I think they become more physical.
Mm-hmm.
She used to think like I did, they were all physical, right? And then as they become more physical, they have the same problems we do. They'll get ticks, lice, or fleas, or whatever a hairy creature would get, and they get parasites. And so demons are opportunistic, and they'll parasitize each other. They don't care. I mean, there's people that'll parasitize each other. One of the fears that vampires had, that other vampires would kill and eat them.
A couple of Scott Carpenter's pictures that he had, and some that you see other people will have like this little parasite on their back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's a hitchhiker effect. That it jumps on them, and it takes over. Yeah, and I think that some of these dogmen were running around, the inner Earth dogmen, not so much as these ones that are the werewolf ones, the ones that be changed. Those are people that we talked about. I don't know if we talked about that on the show, but I talked about it with the people from the temple. There are people who would get the other or the parasite, and they would change, right? And then they go out into the woods, and that other decides for them that they're just not ever going to change back because it likes that form better, because it has more access to blood, and it could be a spirit of greed, and it just wants to eat everything. Now there could be others that are, like some of them were like this too. They're addicted to sex. So of course that one's going to want you to change back into a human, because you're not going to get much play by being a big 8-foot tall killing machine, and who the hell knows, what, I don't know exactly how it works, but that's the gist of it. Like whatever their thing is, or they're addicted to a drug. Well, you want to get that drug. And breaking into the house of someone is really creepy, the way that they would talk about that, how they could sidestep into the shadows, and they could walk around in your house, typically at night, it's easier, but while you're sleeping, and they could steal things from you, and you don't even know that shadow that on the wall that's blending in is a human with a demon attached to it, and it looks like a shadow, and it's just sliding across your wall. I mean, it gets really deep and it gets scary. And you're telling us what is happening right now. I believe it's like, what is the word? Endemic? Would it be the word? I don't know. Would it be the word? What is that? I mean, like, how would you describe this? Like, it's happening.
What are you trying to say?
Well, it's happening. It's becoming more and more prevalent. I mean, there's a lot of people coming forward saying what Lee is saying, that, hey, and not to get graphic, but they'll have coitus with someone, and the next thing you know, they've been parasitized. It's an epidemic, I guess. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I wouldn't use the other word, I would say, but this, I don't know. It's becoming very much a part
More
of our
prevalent.
more prevalent. Yeah. And we're getting more and more stories of people. Of course, we're talking about it more, but this is the thing. It's an alarming trend that more and more young people have turned away from Christ and they are following this dark path because it's a quick energy fix. What it is a drug dealer, basically, and it's giving you a quick hit, quick fix. And you're like, oh, I want more of that. It's the dealer, and the dealer always wins.
That quick dopamine hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get it. And you're constantly looking for it, and this thing goes, I'll give you a little bit of what I'm getting, because they take the lion's share every time. And so you start feeding yourself, but you also have to feed this demon that's always hungry for whatever the addiction is, and you're always addicted to something, or they wouldn't choose you. Charles was a sex addict. He went home with those two women. They knew when they trapped him, they saw a 6'7" guy. Imagine the kind of beast he could make, right? So they go with him back to the house and they bite him. And then, and it's not as simple as just getting bit. He was godless, lawless. He was a drug dealer and an enforcer for drug dealers. And so they saw him as a mark, and they were like, let's take this guy and turn him into, because when he was talking, he knew. But at the time when he was young and he was talking about it to me, he says, why me? And I answered real quick. I was like, your size, your strength, your ferocity, why wouldn't they choose? He said, well, yeah, I know that. But why me at the time? He's like, why me? You were targeted. Joel just became like part of it, because they said, if you don't bring him, we're going to kill him, because he knows. So, yeah. And so he became part of it. But he was very intelligent. Joel was the one that was kind of the ringleader of their little clique. And so he ended up becoming vampirism was his thing. He just couldn't imagine changing into a big thing, running around doing that. But the truth is, the bigger the person, the bigger the wolf. I mean, that's true. There's not very many cases that I've studied where the people were really small and they became these gigantic. That's not really the case. I mean, it really is, bigger you are, the more mass you have, and it converts. And it does make sense. And there are stories from every culture of these things. I believe the skinwalker is just a prime example of a native, that takes on the parasite and eats it. And a lot of times they'll eat it with cactus and some other things,
I wonder, because we talked about it yesterday. I don't know if we did it on the show or not, but you have to kill a loved one, right?
You have to take the life of somebody.
So I wonder if it's more like they raise it and they feed it with that death. And that's why it's important, because that energy of that death strengthens that parasite and makes it to where, that's why that's the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, Lawrence.
Yeah, I saw something last night talking about it's got to be the one you love the most, or something like that.
Yeah, it's someone you love, care about, and are close to, and that's the box. Now, to me, you really don't. If you're able to do that for that power, you really didn't love that person. So I think it's giving up something that's close to you, because you can give up somebody that you use. That's very important. Because to them, that's love. Somebody that they can use, and that's not. I'm telling you, man, it runs deep, and they're really not that picky when they want to use somebody for cannon fodder, because that's what you are, So people think, oh, I've been chosen, like it's some game show you won. No, and they're like, this stuff really works for me. They care about me, They give me something that I didn't get from my family or whatever the hell it is, and then they go with it, and they become part of this satanic cabal. And the next thing you know, everything they're doing is really against their will. They're not, their will doesn't even exist anymore. It's gone. And what's left is the shell of a person that's just being inhabited and being eaten out by the parasite, because the parasite ultimately eats all it can from you, and then you die.
Yeah, and at some point you just start trying to feed it so you don't start dying.
Yeah, and the witch that did it, they don't know the ins and outs, all of it. They're not that well versed on it. Especially some of these newbies, what they're doing, they just know what works. It's like a person going to the gym. Mm-hmm. They know lifting weights makes them better. They don't really know the science behind it. Remember the guy talking about the cheese way or whatever?
Yeah.
And he's just like, there's all this people that are eating whey powder thinking that it's doing all this is really just a waste byproduct of cheese making. And I'm like, it doesn't matter though. The science still supports that it works.
Right.
And it was garbage at one time. You just threw it over your shoulder. Like, what do we do with this? This is the water from it, you know? And then somebody says, oh, there's a lot of protein in that. Maybe we should ingest it. And, you know,
Yes.
then it
Still
became
have to feed your muscles.
yeah. It became $1 billion industry. So people don't really understand how things work, and they don't care, and they don't have to. You don't have to know how everything works. I just had that kind of mind where I'm messing with something. I want to know how it works. I want to see how this plays out. How does this do what it does, and how do the laws of physics in our world, you know, wrap around this subject? So a lot of people don't know and they don't care. And these witches are no different. They're lazy. They don't care. They don't go research this. They just know that they do a little spell. They say a few words. And a lot of times the words don't mean jack. It's really not that. It's a science. And then they create.
It's the ritual.
It's the ritual.
And they also learn from each other. And like, they don't know anything.
It gets passed down. Yeah. It gets passed down. And then they know that the kiss will do it. So they smack a kiss on you after they've drank something that has the parasite in them. There's a good reason why a lot of people say that witches, real witches, not talking about goth people that dance around a cure. I'm talking about these real people. And they don't like silver and they don't like gold. The other day, I was at the mall and there was a woman, she kind of walked by and she was looking at the gold, and I was standing there talking to my dealer, my jeweler or whatever. And I was talking to him and she just kind of goes, ugh, and walks away. And the guy that was next to him, he's kind of, I tell him he has the gift. I don't know. But he says, man, that woman has something on her. I said, yeah, she recoiled at the gold and the silver because she doesn't want that on her. God forbid she should get it inside of her, because you can actually, I'm not going to tell you to go do this. And I've stayed away from abstain from saying this because I don't want people to go run out and drink it and think that it's going to cure you.
It's going to turn you blue.
Yeah. Absolutely. Copper will turn you green. Silver will turn you blue. And so gold is best for you. That's my little thing. And I say that, but that's the truth. But there is a type of gold. Y'all know what it is? Monoatomic gold. It can be ingested and it will destroy parasites, and so will colloidal silver. So if you go out night of partying, having fun, whatever, maybe just a little bit, you know, I would do it. I'm putting a disclaimer on here saying that if you drink too much, it could absolutely make you really sick or unalive you folks. Okay. A little bit though, you know, that's the key. I mean, you know, somebody says I eat off of real silver. That's actually a good thing, to eat off of silverware. And that was the thing back in the day. You know why people didn't die all the time from parasites? Because they used silver. The royals, the elites. But then you have these people who will sit there and tell you, and see, and Lori, she's got to be, because she says, okay, goodbye. She's gone. Look, good night. She's out of here. We started talking about it and she's like, I'm out of here, man. What's going on, Lori? What's going on? Why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? The devil? No, I'm just kidding. It says the Bible says we purified like silver. That's absolutely correct, Peace Frog. It says that God is smithing us as like silver. Yeah, and so you're purified, right? You're purified. Silver would be your best bet because gold has a lot of alloy in it. So if you have 10 karat, and if you like me and you bang it around and stuff, I got 10 and 14 and a little bit of 18, but I would prefer only 10 only because of how rough I am with my jewelry. But 14 would be preferable. You get more out of it when it's smelted down. You lose a little bit of it too, you know, when it is melted down. So you got to get it, you know. 18 is, then it starts getting real soft, because gold is a very soft metal. You can bend it with your fingers if it's pure, you know, like 24 karat. But gold is very expensive too. But silver, most of the time, silver is pretty pure. Like you can get, like, silver jewelry is typically like $9.99 silver, unlike gold. So you're going to pay whatever the spot price is for the silver bars. You'll pay the same for the silver jewelry. Now, sterling is a little different. It can be less silver, but the alloy, you know. So that's the thing about sterling, but it's close, but it's no cigar. So, but silver would be my go-to if you wanted to be, you know, really heavily purified. Yeah, and you're right, Ona. Sterling can be 925 silver, which is not quite 999. And so that's the thing. And I would say if you're wanting to get rid of that colloidal would actually help. And I usually don't tell people because I'm afraid people's going to go drink it and turn blue and be like, Wolf made me
A bunch
do
of
it.
avatars walking around.
Yeah.
Man,
Smurf Village.
I couldn't have done it without my wife.
Yeah.
You know, I was upfront with her about everything, and I mean, it's made us stronger, but nothing like the help of a good woman and Jesus.
Jesus, I'm telling you, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Christ
delivered
you. That's a good thing, and your wife supported
absolutely.
you. You have to be.
Yep.
You need that base. There's all these people that want to go about it alone. Fine, go about it alone, but you're going to need God. And I notice a lot of times when people live alone or they're alone a lot, they think that their life is more peaceful, but in reality, you're more of a target because they isolate you.
Well, I work alone a lot of the time. I mean, I'm a gunsmith. I build custom AKs.
Wow.
And yeah, and
how
then
was that going with the 7.62x3.9 being almost gone because of the last administration?
Well, I've been building a lot of 5.56 ones.
Yeah,
I guess that'll change. Yeah,
adapt.
there you go.
Yeah. So, but
Have
yeah,
you got any
man.
tricks?
No, I build all mine out of brand new parts.
Wow.
Like, I don't use demilled part kits. I've been using Polish parts and a couple new U.S. makers that are manufacturing.
I saw that at the gun show. They're coming out with some really nice stuff, and you would never. Most of it came from the Soviet bloc, from the Warsaw Pact arms countries, and people don't really know what that is now. And those mini drakes have become very popular. I had somebody tell me, "Well, what's the point? It's just a spray weapon." I'm like, "Yeah, that's the point. So it's close range, and it's at that point you're not trying to snipe."
Now though, man, now these AKs, they're starting to use technology more than just mass production. And I mean, I put them up against the ARs.
Oh,
they're combat accurate.
No,
they're meant to hit.
I would say that it's better than an AR even now, some of the new ones especially, because they were always a really good weapon because it was the weapon of choice of most of the world. And you throw it in the mud, you can pick it up, drop it in the water. It still fires. I know because I've tried this. I'm going to tell you folks right now, I've done this. Me and my friend, we did it. We dropped it in water and mud and ran it through the ringer. And yeah, Dick Richards says that's 7.62x3.9. I'm telling you, man, it's the same weapon, the same caliber as an M60, except the M60 is just spewing them, and of course they've been phased out now, but yeah, and so you had different types of AKs too, coming from different countries, the Polish, Romanian, Hungarian, all the different countries, and the Russian, of course. Everybody thinks of it as a Russian weapon, but and yes, there is an AK-74. People have said
that's my favorite.
Yeah, that is a real weapon. And then now, explain to me really quickly the difference between, because I had an argument with someone the other day about the SKS. Can you explain this? Somebody just said AK-47 SKS.
The SKS fires the 7.62x39, but it is a different gas system. It's more like the like a Grand gas system than an AK.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? The piston's longer. But essentially, it's the same thing. It's the precursor to the AK, essentially.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting testosterone. You get the pre-testosterone. It's like it's one molecule off, and they're like, it's legal steroids. And then everybody's like, you took it. What is it called? That Mark McGuire took. Everybody was taking it.
Androstenedione.
They had Androstenedione 50, Androstenedione 100. And everybody was like, it was legal at the time. Now it makes your head the size of a basketball. But hey, it was legal. You had these guys
used to give it to us in football in these white jugs.
Oh my gosh! They used to get when we started out. We didn't have all that. So Bill Phillips, he created the supplement Bible, the the workout supplement Bible or something like that.
Yeah, I used to have it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
He was the one, and he taught everybody. He was the metrics guy, and he was like,
Yeah,
yes. And so it was creatine, and then after that it was HMB, and everybody's like, well, HMB is only half as good as creatine. I know, but you get 50% more if you take it. But it was more expensive than creatine. Creatine had oversaturated the market, so when HMB came out, everybody was like, well, this is the next creatine. No, it worked about half as good, and it cost twice as much. But everybody was buying it. You know why? Because it still helped if you took the creatine. So you took both. And then people wanted more. They were like, well, we need more. But we don't want to take steroids because they're illegal. So they're like, whoa, let's take one molecule away and let's give it to you. And
then once you eat it,
it becomes steroids in your body because you have that enzyme in you that makes you. So next thing you know, you're like angry all the time. I took some back in the day and I got so mad over something stupid, man. I don't even know what it was. And I punched my cabinet a hole in. I was like, oh, crap. My brother comes out and he's just like, yeah, man, I think this stuff we're taking is making everybody angry. Like we were just like, oh, like everybody's mad.
But
like,
the
this
whole
bench goes up like 40 pounds in a week and a half, and you're like, man, this is pretty good.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, I got strong real quick because I put on muscle fast. And I was like, dude, my bench is like 500 now. I mean, you know, like, well, I didn't take it for very long. And the Andro 50 just made me, and I took it one bottle and I threw it in the trash. I'm like, I'm done. And so then I find out that I apparently took steroids. And I'm like, I'm over there like championing, you know, Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire. And people are talking about him and I feel guilty. I'm like, well, guys, it really wasn't illegal when they did it. I mean, yeah, they got huge.
You don't understand the situation, really.
I mean, well, they said, well, broke a copy machine with it. Well, who has a broken copy machine? I got mad at, you know. I mean, my friends are finally like, well, why are you getting all offended by this? I don't know. I just feel a certain way about it, you know. Yeah, because I took it and I didn't know because at the time it was legal. I would never have taken illegal steroids, but I took it that one time and that was it. I never did it again. It was legal. I got it at Vitamin World. You know, I mean, you go to Vitamin World.
Do you remember when you could buy this was in the 90s when they were selling GHB at damn GNC. Yeah.
The next thing you know, people are like, if you drink enough, you get really high. You hang out, pass out and die. And people were trying to give me this gooey stuff to like drink this gooey stuff. And I'm like, I'm looking at it going, is this bull semen? What is this? What is this? You know? Because people in the gym were drinking it with jugs. Some of them guys, they were taking like Westerol and Winstrol, and they were taking Deca. I never would touch any of that stuff. But then they put it in a bottle, and they said, well, this is legal. I drove all the way to San Marcos. I'm like, hey, I'm going to get some of this stuff. And the next thing you know, I'm mad all the time. And I'm like, what is wrong with this stuff? So me and my brother and Scorpion and Squid, all of us, we threw it all. I said, get rid of it. We got rid of it because we were going to kill each other. There'd been a meatloaf dispute, and somebody's going to get a fork in the eye. So it's like it's over.
It's like going into those old like powerhouse gyms, and everybody in there looks like their head's getting ready to explode. You know?
Yeah.
They could be bled back at any moment.
It was like that. I was hanging out at the Golds in South Austin, and we were just always, you know, just big, strong guys, you know, and I was just getting bigger and bigger. And they kept trying to get me to take stuff. They're like, you should take this, you should take that. You'd be a beast. I'm like, well, I'm already a beast. I don't need it, you know, but you'd be good. I'm like, I'm good. I see you having heart palpitations and you're 30. I'm okay. So I didn't want that. I was good, you know.
I had a buddy of mine, a guy that I competed with because I was in bodybuilding, man. My natural walk around weight is 200, and I was competing at 200. So I was getting up to like 250 in the off season.
Wow.
But Dallas McCarver, I competed against him, and he went 2 years later. He was training for the Olympia. He had qualified for it at 22 years old, man. He qualified for the Olympia and choked to death on his meals, on his meals, dieting like 2 weeks out. Yeah. But at 18 years old, this kid weighed 340 pounds in the off season.
Dang.
And cut down to 280.
Big old boy.
Shredded. Yeah, he was huge.
I know what you're talking about, D. So Lee, my brother, just posted, and Wolf brought some fat burner capsules that made you feel your hair grow for hours. We got those from Starscream. It was called Thermogen. That was those, and that stuff. It had ephedrine in it, and it. Back then we didn't know. It was the supplement industry was blowing up. We didn't really know what was good and bad. So you take it, and you're your own guinea pig. You don't know what's going to happen, and yeah, you feel like you're going to have a stroke, and you're like 22, and you're like, whoa. Like, oh, this is a good song, but I'm really feeling it. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, skin's crawling.
Was really, really crazy because that stuff was like it would make you high as hell. And that's not in the gym. Yeah, the gym I worked out at Future Farm North. It was a guy passed out doing squats. He just laid down, and you're like, what? And he didn't get back up, and we're like, what happened? And my friend Mitch, who was big, he was into that. He passed away, unfortunately, because he did it for 10 years. He took steroids, and that was one of our friends. But he lived. I'm not going to say his name. But then my other friend ended up dying because I think some of that stuff enlarged his heart. His name was John Parker, but he was a very good friend of ours. And he took all that, like back in the day. He made no bones about it. He was just like, I messed up. I should not have taken all that crazy stuff. I didn't. I just took the whatever it's called, 50, Androstene 50. And I was a little late to the party. A lot of other people were already taking it. And I was like, I don't trust this, but I went ahead and gave in. They said it's legal, Well, there's a lot of things that are legal until it's not. They used to say, oh, you got ghosts in your blood, do cocaine for it. I mean,
right.
Remedy for it, it's like
they used to give it to people for gout.
And it became part of the whatever you call it, the culture. It was like, take it. What his name went crazy on it? Sigmund Freud. And it was his understudy, Carl Jung, who said he's a cokehead. He literally made that word. He called him a cokehead. Yeah, Sigmund Freud was accused of being a cokehead by his understudy. And so they asked Carl Jung, they're like, what are your thoughts on Sigmund? Well, he's become a cocaine user, a cokehead, and so they're just like, oh, we're going to start calling people that. That's pretty nifty. You see somebody doing it, you're like, you're a cokehead, you're a Sigmund Freud, So it just became synonymous with dope, and then it was a drink, drink this, it's better than coffee.
Oh, yeah.
You die of a stroke, just going outside, you walk outside, too much cocaine in that soda, but we don't know until somebody starts dying. That's how ephedrine got outlawed. It's people having heart attacks and strokes because they didn't realize what it was.
Yeah.
It burned fat, but it'll burn your veins down too and kill you. I mean, that's basically it, So
I had a buddy of mine lock up on the steering wheel from he didn't eat quick enough after he did his insulin. Because, he was on the full cocktail, growth, insulin, growth factor, and insulin. And, man, he locked up on the steering wheel on our way to the gym one day.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to get the paramedics to pry him off.
It's amazing what some of these weightlifters would do. Like, they'll take to get the price to get bigger and stronger.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I didn't have to do anything like that. I'm just,
I only did stuff when I started at 16 weeks out, and I would stop 2 weeks out. That was it. And nothing in the off season at all. I ate like a horse. My diet was I was dieting year round though.
Yeah. And so how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
45.
Okay. So you're close to my age. So this woman who did what she did, like how did you met her through Plenty of Fish or something like that, or what was it?
Facebook.
It was like
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like she sought me out though, man. She said all the right things. She had red hair and she was Russian. And not that I have a thing for Russian chicks or specifically red hair, but it was just everything lined up. And she said all the right things. It was uncanny how everything kind of played out. But I haven't had, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had a question. Did she like to cook for you a lot?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
big part of it. They use their food as a part of their enchantments.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, I love to eat.
Yeah.
And yeah, she cooked for me all the time. Man, I was driving an hour to work and an hour home every day versus 10 minutes. I mean, completely nothing. My wife now, since we're back together, she said that that I just had this emptiness in my eyes. She said she could tell something was off, something was different.
Mhm.
Because I remember, I mean, dude, we've been married for going on 12 years, and before this, I'd never even looked at another woman. Honestly, I waited till I was 35 to get married. I was like, I'm not gonna wait that long to get married and screw it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was 100% gung ho, full marriage. And yeah, until this, never once. And always been head over heels in love with my wife. But I mean, I remember not even looking at her and just telling her, I'm not in love with you anymore.
I think also what we were talking about earlier, Lee, and this is really important, is when she would cook for you, she was probably reinserting things into that food, like unfortunately, like blood, because the parasite has to keep on. You have to keep putting it in there so it'll take hold.
She was powerful, man.
Yeah. Well, what you could eat or the prayers you say can dispel it, and kill it. So they have to keep giving it to you, so it takes hold. And then eventually one of these little bastards will take hold. And it's really weird. And this is going to sound bizarre, folks, but one day, years from now, thousands of years from now, everything I say will be in a book and they will use it as a teaching tool. They would be like, we know from Master Wolf that this happened.
Let us consult the ancient tome.
The ancient. He led us to our Father Jesus Christ. We thank him for his science. He was laughed at as a heretic at the time, but now we know better.
I love listening to you talk about the Bible and the history of. I mean, that's what I dig, man. So keep on keeping on, brother.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
What these people do when they give you this this cocktail or whatever it is, like I said, that makes you do whatever you do. There are ways for you to get rid of it, and it can be quite simple. But I'm going to say something, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm telling you the truth, folks. You might even be able to look this up on Google. I don't know, but if you do, take a look. You might have to use a different what is it, web browser or whatever, or what's it called,
search
engine. But yeah, I keep saying web browser. But you can find this information. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. Okay, and I argued with some idiot the other day about, he was saying I can become pregnant. He was on the internet saying, and everybody knows Facebook is where you go to argue with. And I'm like, no, you can't, because in the history of the world, I've had to say this to multiple nut jobs out there. I'm like, men don't give birth. Now, I gave this guy an inch and they took a mile, and I said, let me tell you something though. But spiritually, you can become impregnated. And they're like, how? Because I guess they wanted to know. I'm like, through parasitic, spells. And one of those guys was like, maybe you should go try that, talking to that guy. And I was like, and I just said, don't encourage him. And he reported me for being whatever. I was like, how is that being abusive or mean by just saying, don't encourage him? I didn't call him an idiot. I was going to. I'm convinced that Facebook knows, even if you type something and take it back, because I put idiot at the end and then I took it back because I didn't want to be like, Josh Turner called this guy an idiot. I told you he's evil. He eats babies. But no, I just said, no, I better not put idiot on there. And they still tried to tell me, they gave me a warning. And I'm like, geez, these freaking soft, doughy little.
They're constantly listening, though, man.
Communist sissies, dude.
Yeah.
And sure enough, this dude started arguing with me, and I said, well, you can become pregnant. You can give birth to toilet whale. Because he was kind of, said, or you could actually, get spell casted on you. And one of the guys in there is kind of a friend of mine. Well, I don't really know him other than Facebook, but he eggs me on sometimes. But he was like, because I hammer some of these people because they're so ridiculous, man. So this guy said something. This is a while back. This wasn't really recent, but the guy said something, and I said, "Yes, you can. They will hatch on you. A demonic entity that attaches itself, it will hatch these." And I'm not even making this up, man. Like I said, you might be able to look some of this up. They're like these. They start out looking like worms. I'm not even joking. If you look at a parasite under a microscope, it looks like a demon from the 12th century. I'm not even joking.
They look like monsters.
They're monsters, and these things, they become a demon. And it's like a worm. It's like a little tube worm looking thing, but it's a spiritual thing. But then again, it's not. They're metaphysical. And so it will lay eggs. Basically, they hatch on your spine, and then they crawl through you like Swiss cheese. And then you get all kinds of diseases and things that manifest physically. And I'm not even kidding. I mean, if people don't even realize this, and these demons, they bring sickness. We know that Pazuzu, we were talking about him, was it yesterday? I think we were talking about him. He is one of the Mesopotamian demons of illness, Sumerian in particular. And this guy was worshiping him, and Jason Bland posted on there who the guy was. I forgot his name. It's on yesterday's chat. Go look it up. But the guy was like, I got to kill this. I got to kill something. I need an animal or something to kill. And the jailers were like, we're not going to kill. So too bad. If Pizza or whatever his name is, comes after you, that's your problem. But he was like, I got to do something. And then he ended up dead in the cell. And his mother she was a witch, and she encouraged this crap from him. So he had never had a chance. He was brought, I don't feel sorry for him, but he was brought up in this crap. So he was probably parasitized way back, and they probably had eaten his brain like Swiss cheese. I'm convinced that Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease, CJD, do y'all know what that is?
Yeah, it's mad cow disease.
It's mad cow disease. It's a spondylocephaloform. The spondyloform, what it does is it burrows into your brain, like spiral noodles. That's what it looks like. It's got a little mouth on it, too. It's weird. And you can't kill it with heat. There's no killing it. You know what kills it? Radiation. That's it. So they were irradiating beef and things like that, and then saying, I remember for a while there, it's a prion, and it's like a protein type thing, but there were people saying, well, we should eat the irradiated beef. And you could go to the local supermarket, like at H-E-B here or whatever, and they would have it on there, irradiated beef during the mad cow thing. I don't know if anybody remembers that. And I'm going like, man, I'm not eating that crap.
There was a lady on Joe Rogan the other day talking about how they make these vaccines and by inserting it and scraping the pus off of the cows of the stomachs of these cows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they make the vaccines. But then they were still selling these cows for meat. Butchers were getting sick. The public was getting sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't care, and people, they go to the supermarket and they buy the meat that looks like it's more red. It looks more healthy, but those are dyes.
I was always told not to play with my food.
They put dyes in the meat, and so that meat looks better. But if you open it up, it's all brown and weird inside. Yeah, that's because the meat is not very healthy at all. And so you have this. There is this whole disgusting. There was a guy who wrote a book about it called The Jungle years and years ago. Go look it up, man. And it talks about how nasty the canning industry was and how gross. And it had not a lot has changed because the organizations that are in charge of our food. I'm telling you, these people that are in charge, they want you to have those parasites because those are demons. And then people think that you sound absolutely insane. Upton Sinclair, there you go. Peace Frog. Thank you for that. It sounds absolutely insane, but if you look at it under a microscope, that's it. I mean, and so you had this parallel. Now, there are books where they drew pictures of demons and what they looked like from the 12th century. I've seen it. And they look like these parasites that we get from our food. You can't pay me to eat pork. I won't eat pork for nothing.
No.
And then if you eat cow, you better not. And let me tell you something. One of the places that you can get CJD from, and it's not like a place where it comes from, because you can get it from anywhere. But one of the places is if you like to eat T-bones a lot, stay away from the meat around the bone. I'm just going to give you that advice. because that has it in there in spades. If it has it,
Animal
right.
food too. If you're
Yeah.
handling animal
D-
food.
don't
Eat a
handle
lot of flank
animal
steak.
food. Yeah. They give it to your pets because CJD can take 7 to 10 years to materialize, and it starts as dementia because it eats holes in your brain, right? So animals don't live that long. So your animals are getting CJD because then you don't even know, because they take the spinal cord and the brains and all the bad stuff that people don't want or whatever from cattle and sheep, and they grind it up and they give it to your animal as pet chow. And the animal don't know. They just like, oh, this is great, because the dog's nose is a million times better than ours. So what tastes like cardboard to us would taste like gourmet to them. That's why they like cat poop, because cats don't have as strong of an olfactory system. So you have to have more flavoring. And this is true. This is gross, but it's true. You have to put more flavoring in the cat food. So the cats will be like picky. You'll see them eating dog food.
Yeah.
Cats won't eat it because they're just like, what is this? This is gross. Get out of here, And the dog's like, I'll eat it. It tastes great because my nose is better than yours, and it tastes, because taste is connected to that. So the cat goes and takes a poop, and the dog goes over there and is like, this is that gourmet food, and they eat it.
Yeah.
And the
Can't
cat's
keep them out of the litter box.
out, man. I'm good. And the dog's like, that's why. That's exactly why.
It's like I come to a buffet every day.
How do you know that, Marlo?
What was that we were talking about at dinner? And you said, why is that? Oh, was it the bone marrow? Okay, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one for you. And Chato and Scorp's in the chat here. Y'all, thanks for being patient. And everybody, look, I want to say this, though. And cat food is way salty. Yeah, because they don't have as good a taste. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But we were talking about this bone marrow, right? And so it has a lot of iron, So you get hungry for red meat when you're low in iron. It's really weird, dude. And people will get like hungry for like fish heads. Like the fish will look tantalizing, but the head looks better, because it's got more iron in it. So people start lusting.
Or if starts chewing ice.
Are you chewing ice? Because it's like your brain is telling you, because of the bone, it wants that. Your brain's telling you what you need to eat, to get your iron levels up. That's why people that are anemic are craving these weird cravings. It's just
I knew about the ice thing. You never heard about the fish heads, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It's a weird thing, dude. In cultures where they keep the head on the fish, they so they can get more iron, because you don't get as much iron from it, from
right.
fish. But it's like they'll eat that because they get more nutrition from it. But anyway, we could talk about this forever. So anything else you got going on, Lee?
No, man. I felt like I needed to get that out, and I felt like it was about time to get it out. I feel like that was the final step of purging it completely.
Well, I praise God that you got rid of it and that parasite is gone. Do a little bit of a parasite cleanse for your tummy, because that will get rid of the residual, and it'll help you stay clean. Physical, mental, spiritual, it's all together. And there's different ways, different parasite cleanses you can do. Cayenne is really good, because these little bastards don't like cayenne. They'll
all right.
Yeah. So
I mean, I'm up at 4:30 every morning, so I'll start doing that before my morning cardio.
Get on it, man.
Cayenne in my coffee. All right, man. Thanks, brother.
Message me too. I want to talk to you in private when you get a chance. Just message me. All right. I'll talk to you.
Okay. All right, man. All right, buddy. Thanks, man.
Right.
Bye, y'all.
All right. That was Lee. Shadow, thanks for being patient, man. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, dude? Can you guys hear me?
It's a little choppy.
You sound really tinny.
I know you're in a spaceship on your way to Mars. What's going on?
Yeah, man. I got some earbuds on because I know if I put you guys on the speaker, it's probably going to make it like an echo sound. So I'm using my earbuds right now. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah, it's kind of like a feedback.
You sound like you're far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
okay.
Your voice on those earbuds is like really shrill and tinny.
Yeah, I used to sweat in these all the time, so that's probably why. I haven't cleaned them out. Yeah, I just broke these out. I haven't used them in a while. Let me see if you guys can hear me better if I disconnect from the earbuds. Hey, can you guys hear me better?
Yeah.
That's much better.
And I have to use it. I have to hold it like a phone though, so I have to turn off the camera so you guys aren't looking at my ear.
That's all right.
That's fine.
There we go. How are you guys doing?
Good, good.
Sorry about that, guys. How you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. So what do you got?
Awesome.
For us? What's going on?
Nothing, man. Just driving. You know, I drive a lot for work. I got a witch story for you guys.
Another one, huh? Another witch.
Yeah.
story,
Well,
another
last time I told you guys, I gave you guys a story about a vampire.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a
and
good
also
one.
one where necklace.
Mm-hmm.
Was like yeah, that's when I was up in stationed in the army. I was yeah, like at the end of the qualification course for special forces, and I was in one of the barracks there, and that's when the crucifix started heating up. But yeah, I remember mentioning at the end of that or at the end of my time that I would tell you guys about the lechuza. So yeah, when I was a kid, we used to visit my grandma in Mexico. Used to go there and visit her a lot. So yeah, I remember one night she used to work at the plaza. There's like a little kiosk down there, and she used to sell food and snacks and everything to everybody. And she practically helped raise like the entire village. But yeah, so that little kiosk, the plaza, was like right around the, it was like around this, like around the corner, basically, you know, around the block.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a row of trees there. And I remember we were walking home, and she's all like, "You see that row of trees, Mijo?" And I was like, "Yes, Grandma." And she's all like, "The witches, they like to congregate there." And me, like young and dumb, I didn't know what the hell was going on, you know? So I was like, "Yeah, las brujas me la pelan." Like, I'm all insulting them, challenging them, you know? I was like, "Yeah, those witches ain't shit, whatever, you know?"
La verga.
And my grandmother's like, "You probably shouldn't do that." I was like, "Well, I don't know. God is good, you know?" But I wasn't really walking with Christ. So, like, yeah, we go home. And I remember my grandmother, she loved scary movies. So every time we went, every time we went to go visit her, we would bring her like a stack of VHSs, you know, because she didn't own a DVD player, and we brought her The Exorcist. So she's like, "Yeah, when we get off work, I want you to translate this whole movie for me." And I was like, "Okay." So we're in the bedroom, and there's two beds there, and my older brother and my younger brother are sleeping on the one on the left, and me and my baby brother on the one on the right. And we're watching the movie, and I'm translating it to her word for word from English to Spanish. And
Do we lose you?
You still there? Chato?
right now,
Can you hear
dude, like for real, my brother.
Okay, so you cut out for like the past 5 seconds you were talking.
Yeah,
you
we
cut
didn't.
out.
We didn't catch what you were saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so like
You're cutting out again, man.
Yeah, you're cutting out again.
on the right, and my older brother just wakes up,
Chato,
and he looks worried, and he's telling me to
Can you hear us?
Chato, can you hear us?
say again.
Yeah, you cut out, and then I don't think you can hear us.
Yeah, so after you
Oh,
you got to the part where you were translating a movie for
Yes.
your grandma. Everything after you said after that was cut off.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was translating a movie for my grandma, and there were two bedrooms in the room that we were staying in. That's the room where me and my brothers were gonna sleep, but that's where the TV was with the VHS player. So yeah, I started translating the movie, and my older brother just jerked out. He woke up, he sprung up, and he's like, "Hey, you need to turn off that movie." And I'm like, "No, well, like I'm translating it for grandma. Like this is what we said we were gonna do, so we're just gonna keep doing it." And he's all like, "No, you need it." He's all like, "You need to turn it off." And I was like, "Nah." Like I tried to start arguing with him, and my grandmother's like, "You know what? It is getting kind of late." She's all like, "We'll just finish watching the movie tomorrow." And with that, I was like, all right. And she left. She went, to bed for the rest of the night. And then, yeah, I remember I was like, all right, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. I went to bed. And then I remember I was dreaming. And I was talking with somebody. I remember I was talking with somebody, but it wasn't in English or Spanish. It was like another tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke up to the sound of my own voice. And I remember like I was mid-conversation or mid-sentence. So when I woke up, I said that last word out loud. And then for a few seconds, I knew what the word meant and like what I said. But then I was like, what is that? Like, I just thought about it. And then I said the word out loud again. And then that time I didn't know what it meant. And then I was like, what? And then at that time, I was like, I couldn't remember anything, like the word or what it meant or anything. And then I started feeling like I was like sleeping like against the wall where the window is. And I could just feel somebody standing there. Like I could feel somebody standing there, and then my heart, like just a primal fear. Like I didn't have a reason to be afraid. All I know is that I woke up and I knew I was talking with somebody. I was speaking with somebody, and then now I was like, I could feel like, hey, like somebody's standing out there. Like whoever I was speaking with in my dream is like right outside. And then I started feeling that fear. Even though I couldn't see anything, I could just feel like something was out there that just made me feel afraid. And I just started hearing like wings, like this, like it was either somebody running really fast, because my grandma's property, it was really big. Like somebody was running really fast from like the main property to like the guest house. It was either that or wings, but I could hear them like getting closer. And then getting like, and then further. Like honestly, to me, it sounded like wings, like the flapping of a bird's wings.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I remember I was just trying to do anything to get myself, like calm myself down, and I couldn't remember the words to any prayers. Like I couldn't. It's not that I couldn't say them out loud. Like I couldn't even think about the prayer. And I was like, you know what? Well, I'm just gonna start imagining holy images. So yeah, I imagined the image of the Holy Mother of God, the Virgin Mary, and like she just like started growling at me. Her hair fell off, and then her eyes got all wide, and it wasn't the Virgin Mary anymore. But yeah, whatever that thing was, it just kept like flying back and forth, and like I remember I had to use the restroom really bad, and I was like dark as hell outside. So I was like, you know what? Like I just held it in for as long as I could. I didn't know what time it was. It's just dark. And then there's like a canopy over my grandmother's property. So like the sun doesn't get in there as fast as it does. Like out, I guess. But yeah, just primal fear. Also in that house, there's a giant pine tree, like it's overly exaggeratingly large tree. And there's also a well, like a pozo, like a big old hole in the ground. And my mom says that like growing up, they used to see like duendes, like playing around like where the water spigot is. Like she would see them hanging out like these little creatures.
The course right there, yeah. Because and you know why all that is.
Yeah, they're yeah, like the nature, like they're attracted to the nature. That like the huge tree in the hole, they're probably coming out of that hole. But that mighty tree like probably attracts like the nature entities.
And there's an energy that there's an energy field that comes from that, and they live there all the time. But people think, oh, they just showed up here. No, they've been there. You just didn't see them. And you hit that right wavelength, you know, and that's when you see it. There's a heightened sense that comes
because also like children. There's stories in Mexico where children actually get like lured by these things.
They do because it's a form of energy for them.
So like maybe that's why she saw them too, you know, because she was a child. So like I just thought about that just now. So maybe, yeah. But sometimes you'd be walking from like the main property to the guest house, and like it was like this pet peeve of mine, because like I have OCD. I hate stepping on cracks or like kicking rocks, so I'm always very careful where I put my feet. And somebody would throw a stone at the tip of my foot while it's still in the air, like mid stride, and I would make a conscious effort to like not kick any rocks, and like I don't know, like next thing you know, like I was like, you know what, whatever. I'd be like just mid stride when my foot's in the air, like they would throw a rock and hit it right in the tip. I was like, this thing's got aim. Yeah, but I don't know, like that same house, like the guest house in the back, me and my younger brother, my cousin, were playing back there. We're playing the monster game. We'd cover ourselves with a sheet and then uncover ourselves and like, oh, it's the monster, and like just cover ourselves. And one time we all uncovered ourselves at the same time, and my uncle had a sheet up against the wall. He had his clothes folded up against the wall, and he put a sheet so he didn't have to look at it, you know. But like, there's no way that a human could fit back there. And when we were like 1, 2, 3, and we dropped the sheet and we all sat up, like it was just quiet for some reason. We couldn't stop looking at the wall, and then somebody pressed the curtain, like the sheet from like the space in between the wall and the bed sheet, that curtain or whatever. We got so scared, like we just ran out of there. My cousin's the only one that didn't have his shoes on, and he only grabbed one of his shoes, and like he was crying. He's like, hey, my other shoe. And everybody's just looking at me because I was the oldest one. So I was like, I'm not going in there. And then like he's just crying uncontrollably. So I was like, all right. So I just ran in there and grabbed the shoe, like didn't even look, just got out of there. But yeah, a lot of weird stuff happens around that house. There's like my uncles have stories of seeing like faceless beings just glowing in the night. Like said their skin had like a faint glow, but they just didn't have any facial features. And they were wearing like a bodysuit. The only thing you could see glowing was like their hands and their head.
So did you see these?
I did not see these. No. My uncle said they did.
There were people that did that were close to you, right?
Yes, sir. My uncles and stuff.
Yeah. And these beings, this is interesting. These beings that glow, where were they? Were they outside looking in, or
sitting under the tree, like right there? Yeah. They would see one. He just really liked being under that tree.
Was it a duende, like a small one? Then
duende, no. It was a tall guy. It was a tall, like an average man height, wearing like a bodysuit, but like its face and its hands, it gave off like this faint glow.
Yeah, and
they didn't have any face, no ears. Yes, sir, like bald. You know, like the Blue Men. I remember we were watching the Blue Men, and my uncle said, like in Spanish, "Hijo, esas chingaderas se parecen a lo que me desaparece en la casa de tu mamá." It's like those things kind of look like the entities that we would see at your grandma's house, but like just because like a bodysuit and like just a bald head and like hands and like no features on the head.
Yeah, and the hands too. That's something that's very prevalent in a lot of this Mexican folklore, like the manos peludos or some manos azul.
Oh, manos peludas. La mano peluda, the hairy hand.
Yeah, the hairy hand. And so you would see that, and you would see, like the azul, like the color, blue, with these hands that would come through the wall or the windows. I've heard that story quite a bit. I was like, why is it always blue? Why the hands look like that?
Lifeless. It's like a corpse.
Yeah, exactly. And like you had the vampire story last time. I don't remember all of it.
So I didn't tell you guys like the full version, but I'm not ashamed of it anymore.
I would like for you to tell us the full story.
Yeah. Okay. So this is back when I was like a young private in the 82nd, and I was in reception for going to my next unit. And anyway, we got a 4-day weekend, but this one was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we were off like Wednesday, So me and friends, we just start drinking. Like my family, I didn't have my family with me yet because I had just done like a bunch of training. So I was transitioning from like basic to like the 82nd. So we were drinking Wednesday. We drank all night. We stayed up, and then part of Thursday, And that night, like we just burned out. Woke up Friday morning, and my friend's like, "Hey man, there's a party that we got invited to." And I was like, "All right, well, I mean, we've been partying for 2 days, bro. Like, I think we should just stay in."
Charo, you're cutting out again,
Well,
man.
let's go. Like, this is like a unit that just came back from deployment. So yeah, I was like, well, I don't. That's like even a bigger reason not to go. I was like, we're like privates, we're like cherries. You're not gonna want us to hang out with them, you know, because that's how it is in the army. Like, you got to earn your keep. I know it's silly, but like if you haven't deployed, they're like they don't like you.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like, all right, man, you know what? Like, all right, let's go to the party. So we went to the party, and like people there were just like,
And you keep cutting out,
yeah,
Chado.
Carl.
Chado, can you hear us? Did we lose him? Hang on, let me check.
You there, Charles? No, I think we lost him.
like that's the amount of seconds.
Oh no, he's back. Hey man,
Yeah, so
you're
I-
gone.
All right, so you cut out for like probably the past 30 seconds. You were at the part where you're going to this party, and then after that, everything went completely silent on your end.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm over here, like in the middle of the road.
Yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
it's probably a sketchy signal. You know, it happens.
Yeah. So yeah, we went to the party, and then we played. We like everybody there was, you know, it was kind of weird. It felt like there was no sound there. I felt like, I mean, people were talking, and it was like, I don't know. It's not that it was quiet, but it's just, I felt like the sound wasn't correct. You know, it was like off.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of ignored it. I was like, you know what? I've kind of been up for 2 days. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, nothing. I was just gonna ask, like, what the sound. So the sound, like, it sounded like it wasn't real, or
Was like an
Yeah,
echo or
kinda.
something, or was it kind of like
No, not an echo.
lingering?
It felt like there was no echo, like nothing. Like I don't know. It felt like whenever you said
muted?
something, like the sound wouldn't leave your mouth very, like the sound wouldn't get very far.
oh, okay, like it wasn't traveling correctly.
Yeah, like it wasn't traveling correctly.
Okay.
So yeah, like they're like, all right, well, whatever, man. Like, you want to play a drinking game? And I was like, sure. And they had 3 dice. And like the first one, it's like whatever number it lands on, that's like the liquor you're gonna drink, and the other 2, whatever they land on, that's the amount of seconds that you have to chug.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I got absinthe, you know. So I was like,
Oh
No.
yeah,
no.
That's not even liquor, dude. That's
yeah, I got absinthe, and I was like, well, I've never had absinthe before, and then I was like, this is probably like the shitty one, right? Like they sell here in the U.S. And they're like, no, dude, we just got back from deployment. We stopped in Germany. Like, this is like the real stuff.
like the Usos.
How long? How long did you have to chug?
Mine was 6 seconds.
Oh,
Or like
nasty.
8. I think it was 8 seconds. It was 8 seconds. But I kind of put my tongue like, so I wouldn't, because I've never had that stuff before. So I didn't even drink that much. Like I kind of, you know, like I
Block the
cheated.
bottle with your
I
tongue.
cheated, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I put
You
my
blocked the
tongue
hole
there
with
so I
your-
wouldn't have
yeah.
to drink that much, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, like that was that, bro. And like I sat down at the table, and there was some girl there I was trying to impress and stuff, and then like I don't know, bro, it's just really weird, the vibe. And man, I can't remember what I said to her. But yeah, I was like, hey, like, do you think we should get out of here? And she's all like, no, like we're not going anywhere. And she smiled, and like I saw like she had fangs, bro. So I like stood up off the table, and I was like, what's going on? And I look around the room, and then like everybody's just like staring at me. And I go up to this dude, and I was like, hey, like, are you seeing this shit? Did you see this girl over here, man? And then I was like, she's got fangs. And I look at him, and he smiles, bro, and he's got fangs too. And then I don't know why, but like in my mind, I was like, holy shit, like I'm the only werewolf here. I need to get out of here. And like That, like, for real, that's, I don't know why I was thinking that. Like, I wasn't really in the, like, werewolves and vampires. Then, like, but yeah, like, now I'm trying to get out of the apartment, and like, everybody's like, you're not leaving, like, you're not going anywhere. There's like 2 dudes in front of the door, and like, I don't know, it was like this big guy holding me back. 2 of my friends were there. Like, I finally like managed to like break through everybody. I opened the door and I get out, and my friend comes up behind me, and like, he just bear hugs me, and he's just like, what's going on? Like, I was like, let me go. I was like, we need to get out of here. He's just like, no, dude, like, I'm not letting you go until they tell me what's wrong. And I was like, well, vampires. And like, he just let me go because I guess he thought I was crazy. You know, like, I thought it was crazy. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. It was like a full moon, and like, I don't know, like, something told me that I needed to get away from there because I'm a werewolf and these dudes are vampires and they're gonna get me. So like,
Yeah.
the apartments were right next to the military base, like right next to it. So I jumped the fence and I cut my hand. And here's the weird part, like, still I try to add this up in my head every day, and like, so I'm jumping all these fences, man, and like, I don't know, I can't explain like the speed that I'm jumping these fences. And I'm getting on top of the, like, there's like all these like, you know, like like the what do you call them? Motor pools and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the connexes all over, and like, I just hear like a bunch of dogs, like big, like, I thought they were canines, like German shepherds, that were just barking at me and like chasing me all over. And like, they don't keep dogs like that in Fort Bragg, like in the motor pools or anything like that. So I remember like getting chased by dogs and like having to jump on top of containers and like having to jump multiple fences because I was just getting chased by like these giant dogs.
You were at Fort Bragg, right?
Yeah.
Fort
So
Bragg,
like, I remember.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I got to say something. North Carolina.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
North Carolina and South Carolina are hotbeds for werewolf. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, there are a ton of places there. I was told this too, by multiple people. So there are a lot of places there, and Fort Bragg has come up. You know, it's Fort Benning too. People have said this, but Fort Campbell, Lindenwood is another one. But in particular, those areas of the Carolinas and North Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot of dogman activity and stories there. And it's interesting, though, that you said that you thought these people were vampires, and everybody's like, well, he was drinking absinthe, right? The ouzo will do that to you. Look, I can tell you this. When you drink absinthe, it literally can open up a certain part of your brain to see things that are actually you would normally not see. So it's not so
vibrating at a different, yourself, you chemically altered your own vibrational frequency by ingesting.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with DMT, same thing with peyote, same thing with what's it called, MDMA.
You said you didn't
LSD,
take much of it, though.
LSD, right? All these different ones. It doesn't take a lot. It depends on the person too. And if he was in the military at that time,
but he said he's never tried it too. So I think
I've never at that point, like, I had never done absinthe, and like I tried hallucinogens. I did like mushrooms when I was 22. Mm-hmm. So like, after that experience, I'm just like, you know what? Like, these things are not good, you know?
Yeah.
Because I had a pretty negative experience. Now I'm like a huge advocate for psilocybin, though, because it did help me turn my life like 100%.
It can actually get you off of other harder drugs.
Yeah. Especially that microdosing has been studied really intensely.
Microdosing has been shown to do it. The Amanita muscaria, a lot of people associate that with the red caps because it has the red, you know, and they believe that if you took it, that was a way to the fairy realm. And believe it or not, like in some cultures, the Scandinavians believe that gnomes, what they would call your average garden gnome, the real fairies, where the Seelie and Unseelie court were found, were not on the physical plane. And you weren't going to see them unless it was night, but you could see the garden gnome during the day. So by consorting with the garden gnome, he could take you to the realm of the fairy. He was like a gatekeeper, right? In the Scandinavian legends. And so you would take the Amanita muscaria because it was a red cap. and then that would get you into the land of the fairies.
Yeah.
I
Also heard like the Viking, their shields were made of wormwood, which is what they used to make the absinthe. So they would get like high on like a concoction, I guess. They would drink like ale with mushrooms and stuff, and then in the middle of the battle, they would take a bite out of their shields, and you see them eating their shields and stuff.
I don't know if there would be enough
Berserking.
in there into the wood to do it. I don't know, but they may have put something, coated it with something on there, because there's a lot of things in nature that'll get you real high. But you know why? Because it's poisoning you. Do you know that one
But
of the
imagine
reasons
seeing
why
that, like
you-
a giant guy, like he's like 6'7", swinging an axe, and he's eating a shield too. And like, you're like, what did he do?
that would be pretty, especially when most of them didn't have teeth. You know.
Yeah.
Here's a crazy thing. Like, you know, there's one of the reasons why you have to. Have you ever have you drank coffee before, and you got to pee real bad, and everybody's like, it's a diuretic. It's a natural diuretic. Do you know why that is? And then you have to poop.
Is it like an allergic reaction?
Oh, we lost Chato.
Shoot.
Okay, he'll jump back on. Anybody in the audience want to take a shot at this one before I start telling you why? Why? There's some studies that have been done about this. So if you drink coffee, there is a mold that is so resistant to heat that when people think that you kill the mold when you boil the coffee, it doesn't. It doesn't. It actually will kill bacteria and things like that. But mold is very resilient, and so that's why, you know, a lot of times if the water is hot enough, you can kill the bacteria in your tub or whatever, but black mold will still grow. Doesn't bother it, because it's a type of fungal parasite, and this fungus, it grows on the coffee beans, and so what happens is you ingest it, and your body is immediately like, whoa, this is something not good. And so it starts trying to get rid of it by making you urinate and poop. And they estimate, especially with our great federal regulations here in the United States, which aren't worth poop, no pun intended, they said as much as like 70% of the coffee has this mold.
Jeez.
Yeah. So that's the good news, that you're drinking a parasite, you know, a fungal type parasite that in the coffee.
How are you supposed to kill that?
Well, you don't, unless you spray a certain type of whatever. Here's the upside for me. Decaf has a chemical that they use to decaffeinate it, and it's not really healthy. But that chemical can actually defungal whatever this, you know, bless you. Just sneeze, dude. Why do you hold it in like that? Well, it's not good for you. You bust a blood vessel.
I have a really
Oh no, I dropped this.
Oh, did
Unplug.
What did you drop?
the
Get
screen?
unplugged.
The screen.
It's right down there.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyways, y'all can still see me. Can they see
Yeah,
me?
Yeah, they see you.
Okay, so you can see me, but my screen went black. So what ends up happening, you ingest coffee, and then your body has to get rid of it, you know, and so it does what it does to, you know, expel it. And sometimes if you drink enough of it, it can give you diarrhea. And that's when you know that it's not that you drank too much coffee, it's because there's fungus in there. But like I said, there's the upside. Like me, I drink decaf quite a bit. So, you know, there's a chemical, but that chemical in large amounts can make you sick too. So, but it also gets rid of gout. So it's like, well, it does this, but it kills you, but it does this, but it kills you.
Oh,
You
it's
know?
like modern medicine.
Everything will eventually kill you if it's not taken in moderation, you know. You know, it's just one of those things. But you know, I think it's interesting though that we were talking about this, because the fairies, you know, it's known for the green, you know, this and the green that, and the absinthe, you know, is green. And so if you drink it, you end up, you know, this guy ends up in like a position where he sees, you know, vampires, like what he thinks is a vampire. Who knows? I mean, you know, you can say, well, you know, maybe this is, you know, him seeing the true reality. He saw these beings. but he wouldn't be the first person that has taken something and said that they saw vampires. And of course, people say, well, the police are like, well, this guy, he ingested something and he starts running around screaming about reptiles or vampires or werewolves because you're seeing the real reality.
Mm-hmm.
A notable case, there was somebody who walked into a Denny's. I know y'all know what that is, because Denny's is, hey, it's late.
Yeah.
Hey, nothing's open.
There's nothing open, so
nobody goes to Denny's.
Where else are you gonna go?
They just end up there.
Yeah, you just kind of end up there because you can go and sit down, and it's more comfortable than McDonald's.
Nobody's
so
ever planned on eating at Denny's.
Yeah, you don't really get up to go to Denny's. It just
Someone's
happens.
favorite diner is Denny's.
Yeah, and not really, not that I've seen. I think it's one step maybe above or below Applebee's, which is just eating good in the neighborhood. You're eating what is good there. But let's not get into corporate food. But anyway, if you take this story into account, and this is crazy. There was a guy who gave us a story, and he went into a Denny's, but he was, of course, he told us this. He was in Miami. I think it was Miami. I think so. But he said that he was in Florida, somewhere in Florida. I think it was Miami, but he was from Miami. He was in Florida. But anyway, he said he went into a Denny's and he had taken LSD, right? And I don't remember the guy's name either. I didn't like flesh this one out, but I just remember reading it, and it was recent. It was just like last Friday or something. And he said he went into the Denny's and he saw this couple talking. And when he looked at them, they looked over at him. Everybody in the diner looked completely normal, just like normal people. But these two were talking and moving their heads real fast. And they had just kind of pointy ears and they had fangs. And so he thought, what in the hell? And so he told his friends, he's like, look at that couple over there, man. They're cosplaying. They got fangs. They're vampires. And they look over at him and they're like looking at him and they're like, what are you talking about? And they looked at them and the other people, there was two other people, there were four altogether. Two of them were with him. They were on the LSD too. And this case happened in the early 2000s, but the one guy who was with him was completely sober. He was the designated driver and he had to get up and work or something. So he was like, I'll drive. I got to do some work tomorrow or something. And he looks over and he's like, I don't see it. What are you talking about? So you had right there sort of like the, like if you do a test, you have, what is it called? The one subject has it and the other one doesn't. What's it called? The, like when you do a test.
When they show like
trial,
pictures.
Yeah, there's a trial. There's like what is it called? Somebody in the audience help me here. Where they do a trial and one of the people is a test subject and the other one is the.
Well, like a double blind or a.
No, it's what it's called.
A study.
No, it's a person. Dang it, what is it called?
You're talking about the control and
the control, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so there's a control. There you go. Thank you. Y'all said it. You said it, and Lawrence said it. Thank you. I tried. My mind just blinked out there. Must have been the absinthe. Must have been the absinthe. But so there's the control right there. Like he looks, there's one person that's sober completely, and then two on acid, and none of them saw what he was seeing. And he kept looking over at him, and the guy looks over and he's like, "What do you want, buddy?" And then he's like, and the guy goes, "Nothing. I just was admiring your fangs." And he looks at the woman, and they both look at him, and they're both staring at him like, "What did you just say?" And the woman's like all of a sudden they retract and their ears look normal. They look normal now. The angular features change. And he's like, what fangs? And his friends are laughing at him. And he got this feeling that they were going to do something to him. So he had to pee real bad. He was telling me, I had to use the bathroom real bad. And I was terrified. I didn't want to get to go to the bathroom because I knew this guy was going to follow me in there. And he goes, they just kept watching me after that. And he goes, I noticed they weren't eating their food. They had like a little bit of food on a plate. There was one plate and they weren't really eating it. And another thing that his friends seemed to not notice was that the one guy kept pulling out a flask and drinking from it and giving it to the girl. And it must have been red wine is what he thought it was because some of it dribbled down her chin and she was doing that real fast and they were kind of looking around. And so he asked me the question. He was like, did I see vampires? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an expert at this, but I don't know. Maybe, But I told him, I said, you were on LSD. So anything you do once you've taken that, this is the sad part about it, is that if you take that and then you go and run and tell everybody you saw crocodile headed people that looked like Sobek, you know,
Yeah.
they're going to be like, well, yeah, because you were on a hallucinogen. So you hallucinated that. And I'm like, have you ever hallucinated like that? He goes, never. I go, how many times did you take LSD? He goes, back then I was a raver kid. He goes, I took it all the time. I never saw some shit like that. You know, that was some real stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how like you could perceive that as a hallucination.
I don't know. Somebody said beet juice. I drink beet juice on the show, and somebody was like, look, he's a vampire. He's drinking blood in front of you. Right in front of you. He's doing it. I'm like, get out of here. You people come up with some shit. Boy. John says beet juice. Exactly. Well, you know, maybe it was beet juice. I don't know. But why did he see what he saw? Now, to round this story out, which is very intriguing. I haven't, like I said, I don't remember the guy's name. I barely got it on Friday. To round this out, he went home. They dropped him off. And guess what? Like what Chato said, he hears like this noise, like when he was talking earlier about some kind of flying creature or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He hears like the flapping of what sounds like bat wings. And he says bat wings. I don't know. I just read it. I didn't talk to this guy. You know, I just messaged him. That was it. And so something lands on the roof and walks around. You remember when Creed was on and Gerhard talked about the flying thing that landed on, and they heard it. Well, it lands on the roof and it begins to stomp around, and he's going like, what in the hell is on my roof? And then it stops and he goes to sleep. Then he wakes up in the middle of the night just with this terrifying dream of something chasing him. And he looks in the corner of his room and he sees something, just a black, like pillared shadow looking thing. It had no form, just like a pillar. And he sees two red dots and they were blinking like eyes. And then he just falls back to sleep. He goes, how could I have fallen back to sleep? He's like, I'm coming down off of LSD. And you know, the whole thing can just be, the problem is you can just check it off as, oh, he was on drugs. That's it. But the thing people don't realize is that, and thank you for joining us, Clint and Chato. You guys just hang in there 1 second. I'll bring you back, Chato. But the whole thing is this. He saw something that, you know, but he was on LSD. So it's all just marked off.
Yeah, marked off.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, you know, who's going to take you seriously? But he said that he had heard me talk about people that had seen things when they were on drugs, because I know that sometimes it's a gateway. It opens it up. That's why there's some people, that's why they do it. That's why people took the Amanita muscaria, because it was the red cap. It was the garden gnome that took you to the realm of the fairies, the fae. And, you know, that's basically the spirit world. So anyways, that's just something that I was going to talk about there. Let me bring Chato back on, and then Clint and Scorpion. Everybody mute your mics real quick. And then Chato, finish your story. Not you, Chato. Finish what you were saying, and then we'll bring on Clint.
All right. So yeah, like I'm just jumping like fences on the motor pools and like getting chased by dogs that shouldn't even be there. And finally, like I'm just running through the woods, man. I remember like seeing the full moon, and I was like, as long as I keep that moon, like it's like I knew how to run around at night, even though I've never done that. But it's like if I keep the moon on my right side, eventually I'll like, hit something like a road or I don't know. It was just telling me to do that. It came out in the middle of the road on the other side of base, and my friends are trying to call me. Like I look at my cell phone and like there's all these missed calls and messages, but I didn't feel it go off. You know, I'm like busy trying to run away from these dogs. So like finally I checked my phone and I'm worried for my friends, you know, and I don't know, I called them, like one of my friends calls me and I pick up and the dude's like, hey man, where are you? Like we're waiting for you. And I was like, hey man, you need to get out of there. And he's all like, nah dude, like this party's bumping. And I was like, well, I'm not going back there. So like I end the call and they're just texting me, like trying to get me to go back. So I'm like, nah, like I'm new to this base, you know. I don't know where I was, so I'm just walking, dude. Pick the direction, and just out of nowhere, this Jeep pulls up next to me, and he's all like, "Hey, man, do you need a ride?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Like, I really don't know where I am, so like, yeah, I need a ride." I got in the Jeep, and then like I remember this guy. Like all I remember is like his eyes, man. His eyes were just glowing, you know, like not glowing, but like they were just really bright, like bright blue. Not lighting up like an animal when you aim light at it or anything, but just like very like vibrant, you know, like vibrant blue. And the guy's like just staring at me all weird, and I'm quiet, not really saying anything. And this dude's like, "Hey man, are you alright?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's just I kind of had a rough night." And he's all like, "Were you running through the woods?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro, like, yeah, just like I was." And then I was like, "Wait a minute, like, how does he know?" I was like, "Maybe because I'm all sweaty, you know." So yeah, I was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm just." He's like, "So where are you staying?" I was like, "I'm at the reception barracks. Like, if you know where those are, like, I really don't know this base." Oh, something just flew like a big old bird. But yeah, the guy's like just like looking at me all weird, and I was like, "What's up, dude?" And he's all like, "Nothing, man." He's like, "I just think you need to unwind a little bit." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe." And he's just like, "I'm going to this party." And I was like, "No, like stop the Jeep." And he's just like, "Nah, bro, we're going." He's like, "We're going to this party." And I was like, "Stop the Jeep right now, dude, or I'm gonna like I don't know why in my head I thought it was like a werewolf." And I was like, "If you don't stop this Jeep right now, dude, I'm gonna bite your throat out."
Dang.
The guy's like, "You know what, bro? I'm an MP, like a military police." So he's all like, I'm taking you to the party, bro. And like, I was like, "Nah, like if you don't stop this car, I'm getting out, bro. And like, I'm gonna bite your throat out." And he's just like, "All right, fine, whatever." He stops the Jeep, and I get out. And then after that, I don't even remember how I got back to. Holy shit! I don't remember how I got back to the barracks. But I woke up good, bro. Like in my friend's room. I didn't wake up in my room. But that was it. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
You need to email me that. And if it's okay, I'd like to put it in the book. Your encounter. I'd like to put a little talk about that.
Yeah, there's several other encounters that I have. I emailed you one called The Word.
Mm-hmm. I think I know.
Yeah, that one's very strange. There's another one where it was this one's like very sketchy.
Well, so before we go further though, let me get Clint on here, and then we'll come back. If you want to hang out though, that's fine, you can. But we got other people in the queue. I don't want to bring too many people on at one time, but I'm going to bring Clint and Shadow. You can hang out, just mute your thing, and if we have time, we can get back to you.
Right.
Clint, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, brother?
I can.
Alrighty. So I'd like to start out. I've had many encounters with a lot of demons through sleep paralysis, and early on, actually, in my life. I'm 34 now, and I've had multiple encounters. Now, what I want to start out with really is, and maybe this is maybe something you might want to even, maybe we can even just, maybe I shouldn't even share anything now. I mean, I will, but maybe it's something that you want to do a whole story on, because I always tell everybody, you know, I've shared stuff on a couple platforms already that I tell people I can write a book on. I just got to write it all down, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing I'll tell you about, when I was about 14 years old, I was at my buddy's house. We all, you know, I used to live in this neighborhood. It was about, you know, 5 or 6 families with, you know, all of us being best friends and stuff like that. And unfortunately, about 7, 8, or 9 of them all, you know, committed suicide, actually.
Oh, wow.
The older brothers. You know, we were the younger brothers, and, you know, my brother, he's 3 years older than me, and basically all his friends, which are my friends too, but the older brothers will say, hung themselves and stuff like that, or something else. Anyways, but I was at this particular person's house when I was about 14 years old, and Charlie, the older brother, me and him were up playing Nintendo 64, and he started telling me about this guy that used to come, this ghost that used to come to his window, and him and this boy Raymond that used to live there with him, our friend, used to see all the time. He used to come with a suit and a hat, and he was telling me all this, and we were playing the game, and I'm just sitting there like, all right, whatever, man. Didn't really believe him too much. And about 2 minutes, 3 minutes later, we were in the like den, and then you got the living room kind of next to us. And my friend Neil, which is little brother, which is my friend, sleeping on the couch is in there, and he's got a big old bay window, we'll say. And at the same time, we look to the left of us, and we see this huge white light just go right across the window. And then he gets up and he starts telling me, he's like, "Man, I know you've seen that. I know you've seen that." And I'm like, "All right, yep, I seen it. Whatever. Okay, yep, I seen it." And he was like, "Nobody ever believes me, man. Nobody ever believes me or Raymond or anybody else, man. When we see this guy and you just seen that, I know you've seen it, man." I'm like, "Yeah, I seen it, man. All right, Charlie, chill out, man. We got it. All right, cool." Anyways, we played the game for a little bit longer, and then we wrap it up. Now he tells me, "Listen, the oldest brother moved out. So he says, listen, there's 3 rooms in a row right there." He says, "You can take my old room. It's good. You got a futon and a TV. I'm going to take his older brother's room, RJ, that moved out." I said, "Okay, no problem." He says, "I'm going to take a shower." I said, "All right, cool." And he had painted his room because, back in the day, like in the late 90s, we'll say, I'm sure you remember, I don't know if you know about Spencer's and whatnot, the
Oh yeah,
malls and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. The
used to be
classic
the
Yep.
store.
cool place. Yeah, it used to be.
Yep. Well, anyways, he used to have all kinds of black lights, and he used to have the faces that are 3D that would come out the wall. It looked like, and he had everybody writing on the walls and everything like that, and all the walls are painted black and stuff like that. And he had painted over it, so it was a decent room now. But anyways, I guess that might have tied into the story because of what happened. But I go into the room and I'm in there and I'm watching, Girls Gone Wild on Comedy Central, and and he has a 5 foot tall, about 3.5 foot, 4 foot wide dresser, all wood dresser in the corner of his room. And I start hearing a tapping sound at the window that's right in front of me, and I'm sitting on a futon. And I'm sitting there and I'm starting to get a little worried, but I'm like, all right, whatever. It's just a little tap, maybe a bug, whatever. And I think about 4 minutes later, uh, uh, all hell broke loose. The whole dresser, this whole wood dresser started going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I heard a demonic, like, dog growl, like, I mean, it was crazy. And I shot up, got out the room, ran out the room. And I was screaming, yelling, whatever. And he came out the bathroom running, and his little brother got up, my friend, Neil, and they met me in the kitchen. And I told them exactly what happened, and they started laughing at me. And just, I don't even know if they believe me or not, but I was like, "This just happened. What are you talking about? This is crazy." And I never stayed at that house again, let alone say, But Charlie, they end up moving years, a couple years later, to South Carolina, and him and his girlfriend, were really close, but they broke up, and he got very depressed. Charlie did. And before I tell you this real quick, Devin was another guy in our neighborhood, and he was the first one to take his own life. And that was on May 16th. That was the first of 7. And weirdly enough, before my daughter was born, that was on May 16th, 2008. And 2 days later, I called up Neil and I asked him, I said, "Hey, man, did you hear about Devin?" He said, "Yeah, but did you hear about Charlie?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well," and this was 2 days later on May 18th. He said, "Well, he did the same thing." I said, "What?" And so this, in my opinion, was demonic oppression, because there's no other way to explain it. both of them did it 2 days apart and 2 different places. One in Baltimore, you know, because I live in Maryland, and another when he moved to South Carolina, and he did it 2 days later, and then another did it a few years later with a handgun, and then on and on and on and on. Anyways, after that, it's I have a lot of stuff. I don't want to hog up your thing, but years later, I guess I'll just connect Charlie real quick. I was living at my grandmother's house with my daughter because I got full custody of her and stuff like that, and she was helping me out with her. And I'm 34 now, so this was probably, we'll say, I don't know, let's give it about 9 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. I had a dream where I seen Charlie, and this all links up with something else too. I seen Charlie in a dream on a grassy knoll with a river running, woods behind me, woods in front of me. And I was asking him how he was, and it was surreal. And we hugged and we talked and everything else. And he told me that he was okay and he was about to get his wings. And I said, wow, that's great. Awesome. Wow. And, we talked and I woke up. Now, what correlates with it is that my dad used to own a bar called B&G's Tavern. And I used to work there. I used to cook there and bartend there. I grew up in there.
Beers and Ghosts?
What's that?
That's not even a joke. B&G, Beers and Ghosts? I'm joking.
Beers and Ghosts. There you go. I mean, probably, I guess.
Might be
You
Beers
never
and
know.
Guns. Beers and Guns.
And so,
Get a free gun.
so this guy, Dwayne Newman, he's one of the proctors, right? Dwayne, if you know what that means, but anyways, Dwayne Newman, he was probably like my dad's age, in his 50s and whatnot. And he used to come to the bar all the time. He used to play Keno, but not just Keno. He used to get, play pick 4, pick 3. He used to get all kinds of numbers. I mean, and so we used to just let him go behind the bar and get his own numbers. And because he did like 50 to 100 of them, I mean, it was just crazy. Now, the crazy thing here is that he developed a kidney stone one day, and he went to the hospital, and they told him, okay, you're good to go back home. Just do the procedures or whatever he had to do. And he said, okay. And he went back home and he passed away. And so this is years after Charlie had passed away and after I seen him in my dream and whatnot. And after he passed away, about, I want to say a year later, maybe afterwards, I had the same exact dream that I had with Charlie on the grassy knoll, woods, and the stream. And I hugged him, and I wasn't really that close to him or anything like that. But I seen him the same exact way I seen Charlie, and I hugged him and we talked. And I was like, "Are you all right, man?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And he said the same thing. He said, "I'm about to get my wings." He said the same exact thing to me. And so that's what correlates that. Now I can go on. I have other stories, like a lot more, but I can tell you a couple more if you'd like. Like I have one where me and my daughter have shared a dream together, which includes these, the people that call the aliens, the tall whites, you know what I mean, that
I
are
know the
actually
tall
evil.
whites.
They're not actually,
ones-
benevolent
Now,
beings. Or
But before
I
we
met
go,
Jesus.
hold on one second.
What's that?
Before we go
Yeah,
any
sure.
further about that, just to preface it,
Sure.
the tall whites in particular were
Yeah.
showing up near an air base in Nevada, in particular.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that there's a guy that actually did a documentary about it, and they disguised these places where they were rendezvousing as weather stations. But there's what is the weather in the desert? It's hot.
Desert
Okay,
heat.
you don't need it rains once a year. Okay, and there were like 6 of these weather stations, and they had the tall whites were showing there. Now, some say that they are evil, but other people say that they weren't. They were benevolent, or that they were just ambivalent. They don't really care one way or the other. But your take on it is that they were evil?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Of course. So this was one of my many night terrors I had. So basically, I was in a dream where I was at my old middle school, and I was in the cafeteria area, which had a stage, and there was this girl there that was younger than me. She was almost like my daughter's age. It was weird, but she had told me, "Hey, listen, you're the baseball star," which I didn't play baseball at all, but I was a soccer star. But she said, "Hey, listen, why don't you get up on stage and say a few words?" And I said, "Oh, all right, no problem, cool." So I got up on stage because I'm outgoing and everything like that, and I started making like a speech, to everybody in the cafeteria. And so as I'm saying the speech, to my left of me, there's double doors, and in comes these two about 9 foot tall, male and female, long white hair, like everybody knows, with white, garments on, and they're like the tall whites, and and I look at them, and they weren't looking at me; they're looking at the girl that told me to do the speech, and they were talking in a language that I do not know. And they were going back and forth with each other, but I could tell that they were upset with her, and she was trying to chill them out. And I looked at her, I looked at them, I said, "Hey," I said, "she was just telling me to do this and that, it's all good, no big deal." And they looked at me. They had human eyes at first. And this is not the first time that I encountered what happened, I'm gonna tell you. They looked at me with human eyes, and then they changed. And I heard you say this before. I watched a lot of your things now so far. The eyes turned yellow with a black slit. Okay. So that's reptilian. We all know that, right? So they looked at me, and they looked back to her, and they were talking. And then what ultimately happened was the guy grabbed my arm like a vice grip, and he started pulling me away back out the exit doors. They came through the double doors. And with me, since I've had all these experiences and I know how to kind of wake myself up out of dreams and stuff like this, I do just that. I'm in my dream, but I'm thinking in my head when this is happening. He's pulling me through these about to pull me through these double doors. I knew it's not going to be good, and so I go and I think to myself in the dream, I'm like, "Okay, open your eyes," and I start like in my dream, I'm opening my eyes and making them big, and I shoot back to my body, and I'm in my room, and my arm is halfway off my bed. Okay. And then this is where my daughter comes in. So I wake up, my arm's halfway off my bed, and about 10 or 15 seconds later, my daughter has an Alexa. She stole my Alexa, as a matter of fact, out my room, and she put it in her room.
That's her
Anyways,
job.
it's typical, right? She steals everything. So, anyways, she calls me from the Alexa because she's terrified of what just happened to her, apparently. She calls me and she says, and I answer my phone and I said, "What's up?" She said, "Daddy, please come get me. I just had a nightmare." And I said, "All right, baby, I'm on the way." And, she's in the room right next to me. So I go and get her. And it was almost the same thing that I had experienced as well. So we had that shared dream with the tall whites. And that's my experience with the tall whites. And like I said, I have a lot of other stuff I can tell you. I don't want to take up everything, but you just tell me what you want me to do. But that's what happened with me with the tall whites.
Well, you can hang tight for a minute, and we can
Sure.
see how much time we have.
course.
And let's bring on Jordan Cogburn.
Yep.
Jordan, what's going on with you?
Hey, yeah, I've got a little ghost story.
A little ghost story, or a
Oh, yeah, it's a ghost story that happened to me. It's
big people.
I'm kind of feeling like a medium ghost story.
somewhat of a ghost story. This happened to me in Hawaii.
Oh man,
It's Hawaii. It's a Hawaii ghost story.
I can imagine Hawaii.
Yeah. Let's see. This was on coffee land. I was a coffee farmer there, in Kona, and in a town called Captain Cook.
And Kona,
and
famous too. So.
Yeah, very famous spot. I used to climb down to the Captain Cook Monument, and it's a real big hike from to take the trail down to Captain Cook Monument, and it's really haunted too, like all of Hawaii is.
And
All of
people
Hawaii.
don't know who Captain Cook is, dude. You got. I don't have time to get all into it on this.
It's really
show.
haunted too, like
So it
Isn't
really
it the guy who came after Peter Pan?
That's Captain Hook.
Ah,
And
Yeah.
Captain Cook was a real guy. And he was worse than Hook. But go ahead. We're not going to talk about him right now.
yeah. So this Copyland is really old. It was like 3.5 acres, and small. Like a lot of the farms are small, the coffee farms, but they're really old. Like before they were farming coffee there, they were Hawaiian taro farms for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they're all terraced out with rock walls that the Hawaiians built. So it's really ancient land. And then the coffee trees are really, the stumps from them, they're like 110 years old. They're really gnarled, and they look like something out of J.R.R. Tolkien or something. And anyway, I was staying in a little shack my dad had built at the top of the property, and from the house, the lower house, there's a trail that goes up about 200 yards through the coffee land up to this little shack that was built up by a banana patch. And the trail had once been it started off as a donkey trail where they have the donkeys carry the coffee down. And then after World War II, it was a Jeep trail. They made it big enough for Jeeps to go up.
And now
So
there's
it's barely
wild
big enough to
donkeys
get.
running around out there too.
Pardon me?
There's wild donkeys out there running around.
Oh yeah. They got wild donkeys. They got wild goats. Wild boar come down to the property too. Maybe not as low as where we were.
And mongooses. They brought mongooses in the 40s to get rid of the snakes. And now
Yeah.
they have a mongoose problem, and they fight the cats all night long.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not even
mongooses are
joking.
nasty. They're real nasty little
People
creatures.
don't
They
realize how
house cats
mean
are
they
nasty too, though.
Yeah. Well, these aren't house cats out there. They're wild.
They're stray cats.
Stray cats. Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was staying up in this shack that my dad had built up there. Basically, it wasn't meant to be lived in. It was a place where we could store fertilizer and stuff. And I'd have to hike up there after processing coffee for the day. I'd have to hike up there, and then on really dark nights, you couldn't see a dang thing. When the moon was out, when the sky was clear, you could see. But on most nights, if there was a cloud cover, you couldn't see anything. I'd have to bring a little flashlight or just spark my lighter to be able to make sure my feet were still, somewhat on the trail, so I didn't, trip on anything. And it's just, and then it was like I'm basically walking through a tunnel, and you go up there and big avocado trees and banana trees and stuff, and it's just feels ancient and haunted. It was really creepy. But I was staying up there, and there's a turnaround about halfway through where we could, if we're driving our 4-wheel drives up to pick up the coffee bags that the pickers had picked, we could turn around at one spot. It's about halfway there, and then at the very top, there's no room to turn around, but like right there, that's where the shack was built. And then on the back, right behind the shack, there was a big banana patch. So there was no room behind the shack. And I had to enter through, like, say, it was kind of a long little shack, like 10 feet long and 5 foot wide, north to south, like the long end on going north to south. And so I climbed up there. I climbed up the road and went to bed. It was just another creepy night, completely black. Couldn't see anything going up there. But I went up and got in my bed, and I couldn't really sleep. I had a lot on my mind, and the mosquitoes were biting me because there wasn't a lot of screens on there and stuff. I had to light my little mosquito repellent pump thing that you light, and it smokes and keeps the mosquitoes away. But while I was sitting there, I just felt like something, like somebody was coming or something, and I can hear somebody trudging up the trail, and I was like, somebody's not, because I could look. There was it was screened in, so there wasn't a window, but it was just like a mosquito net screen. And I looked down there. I put my head up, and I didn't see any lights coming up, and so I couldn't see anything down there because it was pitch black. And I just heard footsteps coming up, coming up the trail, and then I heard it stop at the turnaround, and it was dead quiet. And then I was like, then I felt like whatever had stopped there had turned its attention towards me. I could feel it, and then it continued to walk up the road towards me. And I was like, well, who is this? Is it my dad coming to check on me? Because I knew my dad would bring a flashlight. I couldn't think of anybody else on the property coming up to see me. And so I'm just lying there in the bed, and whatever it was came right up to the bottom to where my feet, like on the south side of the shack, stopped there for a moment, walked right in front of the shack, came around the north side, and then came and stood right where the banana patch is. There's no door there or anything, and just stopped, like about 4 feet from my head, and just stopped. And I just waited and waited and waited, and nothing moved, no sound, and nobody was going to stay out there if it was a person, because the mosquitoes would have eaten them alive. I just sat there with my heart beating for hours, and then finally fell asleep. But that must have been a ghost. I can't think of anything else it would be.
There's a lot of them there. I have 2 friends who came from Hawaii. They weren't, Hawaiian, but I have a lot of Hawaiian friends. But I mean, these people, they went to Hawaii and they stayed there.
Yeah.
For a few years, and they came back with attachments. Bad attachments, bad ones. One of them, I think he's never gotten rid of it. And the other one, actually, he committed suicide.
Oh goodness. Yeah, my dad had a night marcher experience, and then one of my dad's girlfriends had a night marcher experience too.
You're not supposed to look at him. You're supposed to bow or whatever, lay down on the ground.
Yeah, lay down and just pretend you're an animal face down. But do you want me to tell the night marcher story, or should I call in another time for that one?
How long is it?
Oh, it should be pretty quick. I'll tell the one that happened to my dad's girlfriend, because it's really interesting. He was down at this park that's just north of Kailua Kona, and she was staying there, and they wanted to sleep down on the beach. And this is, it's really old land. I think they had a queen's bath down there or something like that, which is like a freshwater bath down by the water. But they were going to camp out right on the beach, and all of a sudden, this Hawaiian guy that lives down there came running to him. The night marchers! You got to go! The night marchers! The night marchers are coming! And came and said, "You can't stay here. The night marchers. You got to go." And so they left. But when they came back the next day, she said there was square footprints in the sand where the night marchers had marched.
Yeah, people don't know that. But
why are they square?
I do not know.
You want to tell? Okay. I don't know if there's somebody else, but here's the thing about them, though. This is, to me, more just proof. Thousands of people have seen these, right? And they can interact with us like they're physical, but they're not. They're metaphysical, and they'll vanish. And they actually don't leave footprints. They just leave like this mark in the sand.
Yeah.
And here's the thing I'm going to tell you. I don't have time to tell you everything I'd love to tell everybody, but the square thing, okay. And also people have noticed that Bigfoot leave these very flat, sort of sometimes angular, sometimes they really do look that way. And I tell people that's because of the metaphysical. I don't have time to get into a whole thing, but I can tell you square, the cube, right, is a soul catcher. It keeps the soul. I'm going to give you some weird advice. You're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you this, but if you're about to die, go outside. It sounds
get out of the square house.
You're lucky. You're like, if you like, those are about to die, we salute you. You're like, lucky I'm dying out here in the open air of the Coliseum. I'm not saying it's a great thing. I'm just saying it's better to die outside than it is inside. Yeah. I'm not even joking. If you have the ability, go outside and do it there. And that's going to sound completely deranged until you die. And then you'll be like, you're floating around your body going, dang, I'm so glad he told me that. I would have been trapped inside that square.
You sound like that guy on Life of Brian. Well, at least it gets you out in the open air.
Yeah. And the dude's like, I'm having cardiac arrest. And then the dude's like, yay, he won the fight.
Yeah.
It's like, no, look, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being cute. I'm being serious. But the footprints and the handprints sometimes looking kind of squared off. That's an actual thing. I had somebody who got into a fight with a native. Okay, this is going to sound completely deranged. I'm telling you, it was Dominican, right? I knew these people from years ago, and his brother actually gave me the first tattoo I ever had, what they called Indian ink. I don't suggest anyone getting a tattoo because the ink can actually be really bad for you. It leaks into your body forever, and I have like several tattoos. So you can also get melanoma. I'm not even going to get into a whole thing about that, but I had a jailhouse tattoo. Basically, I had a cover up, because it didn't. It said Wolf, WOL, and then the F is way over here. So you're like, okay, how do we fix this? Let's put some flames on it and make it look some kind of. Let's cover up that it make it look more squished together. So we did the best we could, but whatever. I had to get it fixed up, whatever. But he was a Dominican, and I had this story from a long time ago. His grandfather, now I've been friends with these people for 20 something, probably 30 years, 30 years. And he's still alive. I called him and I said, hey, your grandfather had a story where, we lost Jordan. We lost Clint too. Jordan and Clint, I don't know if you're still there. Sorry about that. But I said, if he's still alive, tell him, ask him about his encounter with this native. When he was a child in the Dominican Republic, he was working in the sugarcane fields. And so they would camp out over the open air, and he wakes up and he sees this, what looks like a native child, or like a kid about his age, And, it's sad because, they were children and they had to work, and then they slept on these cots. And these corporations would come to harvest the sugar. And so it's really scary what happened to him. He sees this child, he looks, and the kid looks at him, and he walks over to him, and the kid has a knife, like a primitive looking knife, and he starts talking to him. He's not speaking Spanish. He doesn't know what the heck this kid is saying. So he's like, what are you saying? He's trying to speak to him, and the kid doesn't understand him. He doesn't understand the kid. And then the kid starts punching him and basically beats the crap out of him and stabs him in the leg, and then retreats into the cane fields. And then he's yelling and screaming, and nobody wakes up until after the assault is over. And they said, oh, you were attacked by, and they called this thing the night screamer. This kid would come out of the sugarcane screaming, and he would stab people, whatever. But they had seen this kid or whatever vanish before their eyes. They would go out looking for him, to basically to bring him to justice, and he would disappear. And then he would come in and out of the cane fields. And this is this guy told me this story. He talks with a real thick accent, and his Spanish is different his way's too fast. It's different than mine. And so I had to tell him and have him tell it in English. But he told me that story. This was a child, but it was like a native. And he was completely metaphysical, but he stabbed him in the leg. He goes, well, I could try to, the guy's name was Ruben Acosta, I believe his name was, but I should have said his last name, but anyway, he's very elderly man, but he says, if it was a ghost, the ghost could stab me. So I don't know about a ghost that could stab you, but this guy, if he was a ghost, he's a very scary ghost, and he was like my size, but super strong. Because otherwise I'd beat his ass, but he beat me. He goes, you macho man, you strong, right? He goes, but this guy, he's a strong kid, and he beat up grown men. He taking the gun and shoot at the man turned around, he's gone. And I was like, I have one question, Ruben. Did he look like a man? And he goes, no, he looked like a kid. He looked like a child, And you could tell he was shooting the rum. He was like, I take a drink. Hold on. And I said, okay. I said, all right, well, good. All right. And salute, And so we got off the phone. It was a few months ago. It was when I had the gout. And I talked to him. And he told me, he said, oh, you got the gout, brother. That's bad stuff. I had the gout so many times. He's drinking rum. And I said, yeah, I've known your godson, your grandsons for years. He goes, the little bastards. I said, yeah. Known him for a long time, and your granddaughter too. And I used to date her. And he goes, "Oh, good Lord, you date her? Oh my God!" And so he's a very colorful guy. He told me all kinds of stuff, but that story really stuck with me. And it was really weird. And then there was another one he told me about. I'm not going to get into it, but he saw a snake that came from the tree bark, and it turned into a green snake. Yeah, it was weird. The things that he had seen when he was younger. He said when he got older, he didn't see things like he used to. And I said, because your pineal gland's been calcified. He goes, I don't know what that is. And I said, well, I told him. And anyway, he's a really colorful guy. And he's like in his 80s, but he was a really a fun guy to talk to. But I told him, I said, you don't want the gout, lay off the rum. That's all I could tell you. And he said, I don't know why I get that stuff. It kind of move, But anyway, he was a Dominican dude. And that was that story he told me. And I thought about the Kevin Panay when he came on the show and talked about the Hawaiians, the stuff that he had seen, like the Shark King and the Night Marchers was very interesting because these are metaphysical things. I'm telling you, people see them like they're real, but they will kill you. There have been people that have been unalived, and the Hawaiian authorities, they know what it is, but they're like, well, we're not going to open up a murder investigation because we know the Night Marchers did this. They behead you. And they're like, well, we got to go arrest these people because the white people there, the Howleys, you know, they come and they're like, well, we better go arrest these people. And they're like, no, I'm going to do that, bro. Because these are ghosts. And they're like, how does a ghost kill someone? The ghost can kill you. I'm telling you, dude, people don't understand that, you know. I tell people that those Bigfoot in the Headless Valley, you know, why do they kill 3 people and they take the head off of 1 or 2 of them? They're leaving them. They eat.
It's a warning.
Disappears. They eat them.
Yeah.
They say, well, if it's a metaphysical thing, why does it? Well, why can't you find it? And why has it disappeared in front of people? But it can kill you. It'll bite your head off. I mean, it's a strange thing. People don't understand, and it's really not that hard to figure out. It's because you're metaphysical too, but you're more grounded in this reality. They're metaphysical, but they're more grounded in that reality. And so, you know, it's a whole weird thing, but it does happen, you know. And somebody was saying here something I wanted to say real quick. Hi, Stone Hobbit. Welcome to the show. We got a bunch of people trying to get in. Hold on. Give me a second here. Somebody made a comment that I wanted to say something on. Somebody said something about Saturn's cube. If there's anything in the chat you guys catch and you want to bring up to my attention, let me know, because I can't pay attention to the chat real good because I have all this going on. Captain Hook. Okay, let me say something about that. Somebody wanted to say that it was an allegorical for child trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
The legend of that, the story about that, is that Captain Hook was the good guy.
Yeah, because Peter Pan
was a little bastard. He was Pan.
Mm-hmm.
You know how Pan played the flute and the children would go whatever.
Yep.
Oh, that's a lot of stories, like the Smurfs, for instance.
The Smurfs are really evil
Mhm.
because they represent the 7 deadly sins, but so do our holidays.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night.
The holidays represent the 7 deadly sins, and you're going like, "What is Wolf talking about now?" Maybe his detractors are right. He is Fruity Pebbles, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. This guy's crazy. No, I read too much, but I can. I can tell you this. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to tell you, and he's going to think I'm weird. Liz's Lair, thank you for that donation. Every bit helps. We appreciate it. Keeps the show going. But I'm going to tell you this. Okay, the Smurfs, think about it. I'm not going to dwell on it real quick, though. Right? Gargamel was a witch. He was a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was darkness against darkness because he wanted to eat them because they were blue, but they were blue because of colloidal silver. Right? And
Mhm.
Papa Smurf was a red cap. He had a lot of power. He really wanted to eat him, because you wanted to ingest that cocktail that's in with it that makes them what they are. So you had greed, you had greedy Smurf, right? You had the lazy one, you had vanity, you had all the different 7 deadly sins. They all, some of them represented more than one. Now, if you look at the holidays, do you know what the holidays represent? People don't understand this either. They're very confused. The holidays, just start with this one, St. Patrick's Day. What is it? It's green, right? It represents envy, green with envy. That's one of them, right?
Mhm.
July 4th, it's pride. That's a pride thing. You know, if you're very proud, you're like, oh, we blow stuff up because we're proud. Christmas is greed. Greed, yep. And then you have
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is
gluttony.
Yeah. And
Valentine's Day is
Valentine's
lust.
Day is lust, you know. So it goes on and on. Labor Day is sloth. That's the day you just lay around and you do nothing. You're just,
Halloween is wrath. because
Halloween
you're
is
scaring the
wrath. You're
ghosts.
going around scaring people.
Mhm.
So and it's you know you're engaging in like terror. So that is the 7 deadly sins. Do you think that's a coincidence? I mean, you still think this is not a matrix? This is all by design, and everything here is designed to kill you because they want you off the earth faster so they can get rid of you. Because the more people they can get rid of, the more people that they can cultivate to bring in to make into this indoctrination. Especially they want to get rid of Gen X. Gen X is the last generation that's actually tough. Not to be mean to the younger generations, but you're a bunch of weaklings, little bitches. You know, I'm not kidding. I'll slap the shit out your ass. I'm joking. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna slap. I'm joking. I would though. But you know, I'm just saying, like, people need to like stop being so weak. They're so confused. I don't know when to wear a dress or a pair of pants.
Well, see, Paul, like Memorial Day, Christopher Columbus Day, Martin Luther King, President's Day, those all kind of fall into the pride, same as
It's all pride.
Independence Day, but Independence Day is a bigger.
Yeah,
like
and we go
better
out and we
one.
blow stuff up because we're better than you.
Mhm.
America. Heck yeah. Except with the F. Coming through, save motherfucking day. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. See, that's it. I'm just saying. So we do all these things and we celebrate all of this. And this is, and people are just, they don't know why they're celebrating it. You don't know, why do we have to eat so much? And then the greed starts the day after Thanksgiving. What is the day after Thanksgiving? Black Friday.
Black Friday.
You run around and you run over your fellow human to grab the television set or whatever it is that you want. You know, you're destroying people, you know, because you're greedy. And the greed
I'm glad we don't have to work those stores on
they don't
Black
even
Friday
wait
anymore.
Some people,
we don't have to work Black Friday because I quit taking those assignments.
It's too bad.
Too
but we don't even have. They don't. Some people don't even wait.
Most ridiculous thing I saw with two women fighting. I don't even remember what they were fighting for that year. It was the toy of the year, whatever it was. We went through a bunch of them, and it was what was that? It was the one off of 360. And I remember Jeff was working there. Jeff was with us for a long time. And these two women were fighting over, there was a toy, and it happened a couple times that year. And it was Black Friday. And we did the security for them. And me and Jeff were on that detail. And then I ended up at the one up north by the Dave and Buster's. And they did the same crap. They were fighting in line, you know. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I went from one to the other. And they were just, that year was really bad. There was a toy. It was at the Toys R Us when Toys R Us was still around. And believe it or not, there are still a couple Toys R Us's there at the outlet malls, folks, if you're looking for them. We found that out. Somebody says, tickle me, Elmo. I don't know. I can't remember what it was that year, but these parents were like children, you know, and the kids probably don't even, they're like, why are my parents acting like this? It's embarrassing, you know. They probably do that same thing at their Little League games because they have the retardation. So anyways, we got Stone Hobbit here. Enough about the holidays and whatever. What do you have? What do you have for us, Stone?
Hi, yep, no, I love all of it. Everything that you were putting out there. It's like I'm so glad I wrote it down because, man, I'll be on a different tangent right now. Okay, there was a chap that was on that was talking about he had a night terror in the tall white grace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm an experiencer with a lot of different beings for a lot of different reasons. And one of the ones I got to was I used to have night terrors. They were night terrors. That's what I knew them as. But then when I broke out of the sleep paralysis, it was like a whole new chapter opened up. And I was able to... Sorry, that's the ducks coming back for a feed.
Are you in New Zealand?
Yes,
where are you at?
I am in New Zealand, and I know all about Captain Cook and the Crook and everything else that went along with it. So
Well, you had an accent. It almost sounded Maori.
Yes, I am part Maori.
You look part Maori. Okay, I knew a couple Maoris back in the day. You know,
Yeah.
Can you do the ha? Can you do?
Yes, I can do a pukana. Yes, I can. But I'm not gonna right now.
Not right now. We're not going to put you on the spot. But I had a friend, and we used to play football. And he was trying to teach us how to do it, and I got into it. But the other guys were like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's to terrify the team. We already terrified anybody anyway."
Yeah. No, I actually got to wear a silver fern on the most famous park in New Zealand where the All Blacks do their haka against the other teams coming over.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I've got it in the background somewhere because I was a sword fighter back in the day.
Wow.
Anyway, moving on to my spiritual experience. I have a lot of different beings and different channels, basically dimensions that they come in. And I'd gone through the whole night terror stages, and once I'd gone through that, because I've got other greys that have come to me as well. Not just me, I've got photos, I've got audio. I got an audio of this particular one that I'm about to share with you. So someday I'll send it to you and you can tell me what you hear in it, because I want to know what others hear in it, because this is the most authentic. I mean, when I woke up to what it was, I mean, I went out there and I asked all these different agencies and stuff, what was it that I was experiencing? They all said it because I was through trauma when I was a child. But I think there's another element to it that comes along, and it's got nothing to do with trauma, because it can happen to anybody. Now, when I had a blue orb. Now, an orb is like a dimensional. It can come in as a craft, and I got footage of them coming in above me. I think I actually even sent you one back in the day. And it comes and it floats over the top of me. You can tell the difference between what is a ship because of the way it pulsates, and whether or not it doesn't, if it doesn't pulsate. Okay, and these are dimensional. They can come through us. They can go through walls. They can go through anything. Well, I was in my wash house this particular day, and a blue orb came through my wall. My cat saw it, and this was daytime. I realized, okay, now that's a sign, because I'd gotten to a stage where I was starting to read the signs that I was going to have some form of encounter. And this particular one I listened to, all right, and I got all my devices, my camera, my audio, everything I could record this event with. I wanted to show others what I went through. So I set it all up. That night I got into bed, made sure I logged what I ate, because, I've got to analyze everything. I'm the best skeptic out there, because I've got to analyze that. Every experience.
That's good.
I've got to be able to find why and where it comes from. Anyway, so I set it all up, and I went to sleep. And as soon as I felt those like I'm about to fall through the bed, I get sucked through the bed, and I know I'm going somewhere else. So as soon as that feeling state started kicking, because that was the first state I get before I go into a full-on wake mode, physical paralysis. And I know they're coming. And so because I taught myself how to break out of that state, I was able to break out of it before it got too heavy, and make sure all my devices were switched on. I had a camera, I had an audio device, I turned on the computer, I turned on everything. Now the power went out. The battery got sucked dry in my camera, and I managed to get an audio. I had 2 audio devices. I managed to get an audio of it. So it's like you hear me going through the physical night terror, and it sounds like I'm being stabbed. It sounds like I'm going through something really traumatic. But in the actual event, I knew it was about to take place, because the blue orb wasn't just a significance of an orb. It also represented the door color, because a blue door turned up where there's no way it could turn up. It was a wall, and it opened, and a tall white grey came through, and it was like he was opening the door. And it's a white grey. It's not just a grey, okay? It's a tall white grey. And he opened the door, and I didn't feel any panic, because I felt like I've had these encounters with these beings previously. So the more I go through these experiences with these beings, the less I am intimidated or any shock factor, right? Now, when the door opened, the grey was there, and he stood next to the door, like it was like, I'm opening the door for someone else. And when this next grey stepped through it, all of a sudden I find myself inside this tube, and it's energy. This is the findings after years of work in this field. And it's like a tube, and it's an energy tube. And whatever I say to the being that's inside this tube, what is heard on the exterior of it is picked up differently. And that's why through my recording, it sounds like I'm going through a night terror. But when you listen towards the end of it, the conversation, you can actually hear me having a conversation with something. And it's like, okay, I've analyzed it, of course. But while I'm in there was this tall white grey there, and he was showing me how they use these energy fields, the energy fields that we have around us, why some beings are attracted to our energy, and why others, why they aren't. And they also do send these messages, and if our senses are aware of these messages, we'll pick up on it. Same as goosebumps, hair standing up, feelings down the back, tingles. the whole works. And through the ages, through the time, I've also gotten to see that there's several that work together. It's not just one species working, it's several species that work together. And with this being coming and standing there, it didn't have long hair, it didn't have any of what the other guest came on and said. It was more like an orb came through the wall. The physical sensations that I first go into do feel and mimic night terrors. I call them accessing dimensions. All right, it's a portal. And then once I'm in that state and realize I'm in that state, then everything else, all that blurry stuff and anything that they try to use as an illusion cannot hold because of the frequency that you're holding. So, I question everything. Even when I'm inside an experience, I'm questioning the experience itself. Now, this tall white grey was standing there, and I'm like, why are you here? What is this about? What do you want from me this time? Because I've had the small greys come to me when I had my kids there and everything. There's so many encounters. It's absolutely mental. This is my reality. And he was saying to me, he was waiting for me to ask him the question. Now, mine was, I wasn't fully aware that was what the situation was. I read the signs that this was going to take place, but I didn't know I had to ask the questions. So it was more like, you tell me whatever you can so that when I get back into my human self, I can work out what the next step is from here. So it was just showing me that basically there are these different ways that we can access these points or ports to be able to communicate with these other beings. And it's not just as in, etherical, dimensional, it's also in solid form. If we get into the right frequency, we can see a heck of a lot that's right there in front of us that we can't see normally. And this is what this being was showing me at that particular time. So that's all I really wanted to share about that. I've got so many. It's like, this is crazy. I love it.
I got to tell you something. I got to say this is interesting. If you stop and you look at it, and now you're in New Zealand, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess if you were, what is it? 5:30, 6 o'clock? What time is it?
Yeah, it's 5:23.
Okay. Okay. And so you don't realize that they're like 16 hours ahead of us right now. Like, right. So if you were in New Zealand right now, what part are you in? What part of New Zealand?
I am in the middle of the North Island, west of Lake Taupo, in the Ranges.
Okay. How far are you from Wellington? Like how far?
Yeah, that's about 8 hours drive
So
south.
that's further down, but it's still in the same time zone as you, right?
Oh yeah, I still get the earthquakes. Yeah.
Because I was gonna. Okay, there we go. All right, so yeah, you're not far enough away that you don't get. But the good thing about New Zealand, I'll say this now: there's good and there's bad. Now, we'll start with the good. Now, sometimes you get a little earthquakes, but the bad. And I'm joking. You get the good and the bad. You get the good. There's not a lot of you don't have the same amount of poisonous snakes and spiders as Australia.
Oh, we don't. No, we don't get those. We got Daddy Longlegs, but you don't get anything from him. But it's the white tail, or the catapo that are the two poisonous ones.
Yeah, you don't have as many as Australia, but you have some of the deadliest hunting grounds in the world in the water. Okay, Western New Zealand is known for the great whites, and they are some of the most massive great whites in the world. Until the orcas decide to go there, and then they'll kill them out like they did the South Africans. The South Africans are like, why they kill our great whites? We like them, and I don't understand. I don't know why you're complaining because 5 or 6 of them couldn't take some people out on boats to go look at these things. These orcas got to go. I'm like, no, I don't think so. But that's just I'm a fan of the killer whale. I like them. I think they're cool.
Me too.
But, I'm not a fan of sharks, because I'm not a big fan of death. But you have some really nice things there in New Zealand. New Zealand is a very pretty place, but it's ancient. What people don't understand, there were different races of beings that were once there. This is my theory on this. The earthquakes, okay. If you stop and you go into the inner earth, that is an opening for the inner earth. And I'm telling you, there's a connection between New Zealand and Australia underground. I'm telling you, this sounds crazy. I really believe this is a real thing. And I think that this is something that the governments of the world know. And I think that the ice walls, down further south, I think that they are all connected. And if you stop and you look at these, like if you were to look at an inner earth map, I'm telling you, dude, you would see, it would terrify you. Because when the Maoris first came, there was like this Polynesian influx or whatever, and they're actually related to Native Americans. They have some of the same DNA. It's weird. We could have the same blood. I told my Maori friend, I was like, we talk different, but we could be the same, And I met some Maoris, and they were awesome. They were over in San Francisco. They were there for the rugby championships in 2018. I was there, and they were on the table and they were doing their little haka thing and whatever. And I went up and I started doing it with them, and they were like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And they get up, they started hugging me because I'm a big guy, and they're just like, "Hey, what's up?" So it was a Korean barbecue place, and I just was like, and they're like, "How do you know that?" So I started talking to them. I said, "Well, I know it's a warrior culture."
Yeah.
And the tattooing they do.
Yeah.
It's like, they use actual like burnt charcoal. It's a lot more cleaner than this, and they do it with wooden, and they nail it into you. Yeah, I see that. And so, so it's a really amazing culture. But when they first came there, some of the stories that they had were of these giants, and they were cannibals, and they came from within the earth, and they're Wellington, which is now like, whatever. But they came out of the earth, and they were eating people. These were red-haired had and they ate the Polynesian people, and the Polynesian people had tribes that split off and joined them. And so the Maoris had waged a war, kind of a civil war between the cannibals and themselves. And then there were these really tall, skinny white people that lived there. Yeah. I'm not even joking. I believe those were the tall whites who were manifesting, and they were coming through interdimensionally. And so when you hear about the tall whites, they are often involved in what we would call night terrors or sleep paralysis. People see them because they come through stargates, and they have an ability that some of the other aliens don't. And I'm going to tell you this. It's going to sound crazy if you've never heard of this, but they can open them up. They have this device, and I'm not even joking. It's like a stone. People think they're just carrying around stones in their pocket, right? They're not. And they use it to open up a doorway, and they just walk through it. And then when that comes through, it vibrates. There you go. So okay. So then the vibration, it causes you it paralyzes you, and it's part of the plan there, so they can do whatever they're going to do to you. And it's really weird. Sometimes people will have like little pock marks on their toes. Yeah. People will say, "Why did they do this?" Well, they're taking your DNA. I'm not even joking, and it sounds terrifying. And I had this one lady; she was from Australia, and she said, "Well, what do we do about it?" And I said, "Nothing." What can you do? Pray to God through Christ. That is the only thing you can do. I told her that. Now, here's the interesting thing: this is cool that you called in, but you're 15, 16, whatever hours away, right? You're in that time zone. But we're talking, and we're in two completely different parts of the world, whatever. And now we're communicating. So if you stop and you look at that, and you're going, how can people do this? How can people be up in the atmosphere of space and communicate down here? Because there is, I don't want to call it magic. There's a science to this magic, but these beings have figured it out, and they are light years ahead of our technology. So to us, it's like magic. Mm-hmm. Right. But think about us communicating with her across the world. Who would have thought that was possible 100 years ago? You would have thought this was magic.
Yeah.
In the 1920s, they would have been like, I don't know how to do a 1920s. How you going to do that? See, you pick up a phone and talk them like that? Huh? How you going to do that? How's the cord going to work? Huh? It's not going to work, bub. See ya? Huh?
You sound insane.
They're like, ding, ding, your order's ready. Did I get cigarettes on my sandwich? Because I'm not a Plum Nancy now. I don't know. She's like, of course you got cigarette butts on that sandwich. You think I'm a Plum Nancy? Come on. Anyways, point being, goofy, whatever. That's an amazing thing. 1920s, they'd have been like, you're some kind of a magician. because you're talking we're talking face to face.
Talking in a funny box, making magic now?
Or even just
Talking in a funny box? What's wrong with you?
I used to live in a place called Marble Bar, 25 k's out of Marble Bar, Western Australia, desert. And we had UFOs. We had some weird stuff going on, which also showed me that there were secret, deep underground military bases. It was a Chinese one. You can find it. You can look it up. You can find it. Now, when I came back over here, born and bred New Zealand, Aotearoa, Kiwi, and we have a place called Hell's Gate, just out of Rotorua. And we have what is known as the Pink Terraces. Nobody knows how these marble pink crystal steps were put there or by whom. Now, where I live right now, where I reside right now, about 20-minute drive from here is a place called Kawhia. And in the cliffs of Kawhia are the red-headed giants. There are still red-headed giants. Now, X amount of those giants were sent to our Auckland Museum, one of our big ones before the one down in Wellington. Yeah. And they got rid of them. They don't want the evidence. They wanted them gone. Okay.
They had a place where they were committing human sacrifice on a huge scale, and they were eating the people, and it was almost like a factory. Yeah, and it's an ancient, and they said that it was a natural formation. I'm like, unless you're just stupid,
Are you talking about the Kaimanawa walls would have just? Yep. They say it's very much like the Mayan temples and stuff like that. Yeah. When you really, really look into it, it's not far from here. It's a couple of hours drive from here. But and they didn't advertise it. It's not advertised. You have to actually find the dirt road to go down to see it. Yeah. There's now these hidden cameras and stuff, and you're not allowed to dig, and you're not allowed to take photos. And well, that's not me. I can't help myself.
And they want to keep it secret. And let me tell you something. What is your I don't want to just call you Hobbit. What is your
Stone?
Stone. Okay, Stone. So a lot of people don't like saying the name, but that's fine. So Stone, you have these temples that are found in near Myanmar. They found them, near Singapore, which by the way is a cool place. But if you go to Singapore, I've been there, folks, be real careful. Mm-hmm. You throw chewing gum on the ground, they will beat you with bamboo canes. I'm not even joking. Put you in prison. I'm not even kidding. I got away with something because I didn't know. And they're like, we give you a chance because okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I did not get my head down. I was like, I'm good. I'm sorry that a pepperoni fell off of my whatever I was eating. It was a piece of meat, something. And they were like, pick it up. And I'm like, I thought they were kidding. I was like, what? And these people will beat you and arrest you.
I mean, if you get caught for piracy, don't you get executed?
Oh, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're executed. The piracy was real bad at that time, and I wasn't a pirate. I left the ship. I'm joking. No, but seriously, and I've been to Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong, they're just like, laid back, talking with a British accent. It was like a couple years after the Brits had pulled out, and the Chinese were still kind of scared. You go in the back alleys and beat the hell out of a Chinese cop, and it's like, stop, please. We don't even want to be here, Now it's like they've cracked down. They came in with the military and stuff, and it's horrible. But it was cool, But I traveled around a little bit when I was younger, a lot actually. But I know that these temples, they were found outside of Singapore. They found them in Thailand, Cambodia, and they match these ziggurats, right? In India, they found them in what's it called, the Tamil, They found them in what is the place right outside India? It's the island where the Tamil, they had the Tiger Army. They were fighting the war there.
Oh, what is the name of that?
What is the name of that? They found them there, and they look like the Mayan and the Aztec temples. And you're going like, only a fool would see these pyramids all around the world and think this isn't connected. But they don't want you to think it's connected. They want you to believe that this is all just some sort of happenstance and coincidence that they all look the same.
Sri Lankan.
And so you're sitting there going like, this is crazy. Like, I mean, I'm a fool if I believe this, no, you're a fool if you don't, because this is what's happening. And I'm so glad that you jumped on here, because I know a lot about New Zealand. It's a neat place. They filmed Lord of the Rings there.
Yeah, just down the road.
Yeah, that's it's a really cool, it's a really cool place. I noticed those guys, when I was watching something about them, they were surfing, and I was thinking, yeah, you better not surf during certain months because you'll be in big trouble.
Yeah.
Because the great whites, but you Kiwis, about that, not to go into the water certain times of the year, but very interesting stuff. We should get together and talk. You need to get in touch with me. Send me your stuff if you got some stuff, and we can set something up.
I think I've probably sent it to you through Facebook, but
okay.
I'm working my way off Facebook.
Oh, well, don't blame you. I wish I could, but I got to do social media for the show, or I'd probably be dumped out of it. I'm so tired of the bull crap with Facebook and all of it,
The other one I just want to throw out there real quick is, the stuff that you're talking about. I mean, I've seen so many greys and had interaction with greys. My whole family has, all my kids, everybody's had them. Mm-hmm. And we have over here called the tiki. Now, when you look at the tiki, it has 3 fingers and 3 toes. It has oval eyes. Its head is conical. And then when you have that next to the man has the...
I'm from Taylor. Our mascot is the ducks, and we have a big pond full of ducks.
We rescued them off the road, and they haven't left, and now they're dropping eggs when they walk across for a feed. It's like, learn to fly and go.
Well, the price of eggs is so bad here. You need to pick those eggs up and make some. Yeah,
I don't eat them. I don't eat them. I'm plant-based these days. Okay, one of the reasons I have this amount of craziness going on is because copper wire and plant-based. That's where they've led me. It's not my doing. But happy to chat about the different, if you want to call them coincidences or synchronicities, or the different experiences. I've got light beings that came to, the plasma luminous orbs that people see. I've got, I don't know how many videos. We've got helicopters flying around our house. It was just like we were a magnet for about 5 years in a bloody row, and everything and anything, it was like we were a portal. Eventually we packed up and got out of there, but it still followed us. So, happy to chat anytime.
I'm telling you though, but there are ley lines there that correspond to, and it's not super close, but it's by Australia. But you have a lot of weirdness there, and I still think they're all connected.
I think it's magical. Absolutely. I think this whole place that we're on is magical with so much connection, and there's so many senses that we've been dumbed down to through the generations. Yeah. And once we can clear some of that rubbish, and then we get to our, clearing our crystals, it's like, wow. And you have to go through these 12-step programs to get past the fear factor, to get past the anger, the whole, all of it that's been programmed into us to believe that whatever's standing in front of us is evil. It's not all evil. You'll know evil when you're standing in front of it.
You can feel it. Your skin will crawl.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I do have encounters with beings that I went outside the other night. There's so much air traffic, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's not planes per se. It's satellites and fast walkers is what I call fast walkers. They'll flash. They'll let me know when they're about. They'll come down. Anyway, I was out there and I said a couple of things. And you got to be careful what you say, because they will come in.
Yeah.
They want contact, but they've got rules as well. And as soon as I said that, the whole atmosphere on the, all around my yard changed. And I felt like shit, I was standing in the dark. I like to face whatever is there in the dark. I love it. Okay. Bring a challenge. I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I felt like, no, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. But that didn't mean that the being that I was previously communicating with was evil or bad. It just meant that was the frequency, the density of their frequency. So once I have absorbed that and realized that, then I can go and do it again and then take it to the next level. Check out whether, my findings are you know, is this actually darker than I can deal with?
Mhm.
Or is it actually, because if they were really that bad, they would have taken advantage of the situation. They didn't. So, you know, just turning up, I'm in the dark, boom, you know. So there's all these different areas to it. And you just got to keep the brain in your head. Don't open your brain too much that it all falls out.
Yeah.
So,
and on that note, I was going to say, you know, now you don't see it sometimes what they do that's evil. When they allow you, and I say they allow you to see them. Some people can see them already, but they allow you to see them, and then everybody's like, "Well, they didn't hurt me." Well, no, they're going to do it when you can't see them, and they're still going to do evil. They're not going to do it, and you're going to think it's something else, but it's that. But just be careful out there, okay? And hit me up if you want to on social media. Let me know if you want to show me some videos or whatever. I may, if you're okay with it, I can replay them or not.
Always happy to share, mate.
Yeah, because some people, we don't post a lot of the stuff. I know you probably sent them to me, but I don't repost them in the group because people just start fighting. They're fake, and it just becomes a fight, you know?
I've gotten to the stage where I don't really give a toss if people
exactly.
If I'm there and I point my camera in a direction and that's the footage I get, that's what I put out there. You want to think something else, you want to go to Fairyland, you go be my guest.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm not here to do a disservice for myself or anybody else around me. It is, you know, yeah, I'm no shit Sherlock, okay? It's just facts. This is what it was.
Mhm.
This is what I got from it. I'm here to find the commonalities so we can work together, not this bloody AI stuff and all the
AI is a devil. And I'm going to tell you this too. I mean, it's nice to have you on. Thank you for coming on, Stone. There's so many people that don't realize like this is the real reality. And some people, I apologize if you're hurt by it. It's wake up, because this is the real reality. And they've been keeping it from us for a long time. The world is not what you think it is.
Yeah.
And it's all connected. They love compartmentalization because it's all connected. So you got to go to this person you got Anthony. I mean, Tony's doing something silly, but you got to go to this person to talk about Bigfoot. You got to go to this person to do your UFOs. This person's go to ghosts. Why? I mean, and they'll get real upset, you know, if you try to do it all, and then they'll come at you because, well, you're not supposed to be doing that. This is the cryptid community. I'm not in the cryptid community. I'm in my own community. I don't know where you're at. I mean, I tell people, I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. Because I had somebody at the conference on Saturday, and she wasn't rude really, but she's like, "Oh, you're in the cryptid community." I'm like, "I'm in your community too. I'm that neighbor that doesn't go away. I'm standing out there with the water hose waiting to talk to you. Hey, I heard you saw a ghost. I've been out here for 3 hours. You see the mud pit right here. Tell me. Are you gonna tell me? No, I'm gonna spray you with water. Never mind. I'm joking. I'm kidding. But yeah, you gotta get the stories. That's what I do. I gotta retell them, and I want to know for myself. I want to know. Sometimes people will tell me, "Well, you're not gonna use this." I can tell you, but it doesn't matter. I want to know because it adds to my,
repertoire.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so I can retell it maybe at another time or whatever. It might not be a real long one,
but you can reference it.
You can reference it, and you put the pieces together. What we have right now are little tiny fragments, and we got to make them bigger, make a bigger piece so we can show people this is what's happening.
Yeah.
So people coming on, this is why Mondays are crucial. I know it's Mondays. For you, it's Tuesday, whatever. But for us, it's Mondays, and we're doing this, and it is, it's important because, Sundays are great too. We did a lot of work last night, but I say work because this is, we're putting in the work to figure this stuff out and help people be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll let you go, Stone. It was nice having you on. Tell everybody in the Kiwi land I said, hey.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for hearing me, and I'll share my stuff with you, and we'll see where it takes us. But cheers and keep it real. Thank you for keeping it real. That's the main thing.
I will. I'll keep it real and take care of the ducks. I'll see you. All right.
Absolutely.
Right. So, nice person there. What do you think, Scorp?
Yeah, she was cool, man. It was cool listening to her stories, and I've always been fascinated because I've seen a few people tell stories about stuff like that on YouTube. I mean, they weren't like on the video like that, but I would hear people retell stories of stuff like that.
I don't remember what channel it was. I think it
It's
was
called
Discovery
Paranormal
3 when I saw
Roundtable.
it.
Maybe you saw it
No,
there.
it was.
No,
it
he
was
doesn't watch
like
us.
He doesn't pay attention.
Yeah.
He's like, those
Yeah.
guys are terrible. Especially the fat one. Can't
I only
stand
come
that
on
guy.
there. I only pay
Fat head.
attention to that
Everybody
one. I
thinks
only
he's
pay
obese.
attention to that one every now and again if I get bored enough.
Well, I put a picture of myself up the other day, and then people were like, "Oh, you're sucking in your gut." Yeah, but it was flat, wasn't it? Whether I sucked it in or not, an obese person can't suck in their gut and make it flat, can they? Uh-huh. So tell me that. Huh? You turn to the side, you suck it. Look at that. That's flat. Sucking it in. Sucking it in. But like I said, an obese person can't make your gut flat.
You start wearing one of
No,
them.
I can't. I can't do that.
Of course, you're just like, and then the fat's at the bottom, it's squishing out. They're like, "Oh, it's just an easy SpongeBob.
I can't breathe."
Wow, you have such an hourglass figure.
I've been working on it real hard."
Yeah.
Like you sound
Yeah,
like you
an hourglass figure where the sand is shifted.
Yeah. Well, remember we had a friend. I'm not even gonna. Well, dude, to heck with it. Fat Rob. You remember Fat? Fat Rob?
I grew up with Fat Rob in Montauk.
Fat Rob. Let's not say horrible bad things, but Fat Rob was a very annoying individual, and we took him to lift weights. He was obese, and we tried to get him to lift weights. And what did he do to the Scorp? Just real quick. One word. What did he do?
He cried.
He cried. He said, "This is cruel and unusual punishment." What is unusual? I heard him crying over there, and Scorpion and Willie and Dee were like, "I give up with this guy." So I tried.
He was the epitome of sloth and gluttony all in one. Man.
He was so. He worked at a fast food joint, and he would come home
worked
with
at
bags
Burger
of burger. Well, he also worked at another one, Wendy's. And he would come home and he would just eat gobs of food, sit there on the computer, and my brother would ask him for food, and he'd tell him no, he doesn't have enough. And I watched him eat 6 cheeseburgers. I'm not even joking. So I walked over there and I just started grabbing stuff out of the bag and eating it because what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna call your
You
friend.
don't
Remember
need
his
it.
friend Dragon Pin? Remember that guy? What was his name? Pendragon. Sorry, Pendragon, not Dragon Pin. So he told me and Scorpio and Pug, one of our other friends from back in the day, that he had this guy that was his friend or whatever, probably his boyfriend for all we know, Sissy. And he goes, this guy that'll come over here and beat all you guys up because he knows martial arts. And I said, what is his martial arts? Like, are you talking like he can paint? What's he gonna do?
He knows karate.
We talked him into calling this guy. So this goofy dude comes over, and I actually kind of like the kid. He was goofy, right? This is a funny story. Remember this Scorp? He started doing the nunchucks. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he started, and he freaking hit himself in the face, and he put a knot on his head.
Yeah, it looked like he ended up looking like he had a little horn starting to poke through the front of his forehead.
Yes. And so
he hit himself hard with that nunchuck. Man.
It was loud, and Arash was like, "Whoa, hey, dude, are you okay?" Like, and we're all laughing, and this dude, and Arash is like, "Is this guy supposed to beat us up, or what? When does the beating begin?" And he's like, "I know 6 deadly forms of martial." And he was like, he was not a skinny guy. He was just, there was no muscle tone. He had this like dumpy kind of Hank Hill.
I know how to manipulate all your pressure points so your head explodes.
You're gonna get killed.
Tiger Claw.
Tiger Claw. He's doing like Fist of the North Star. You're already dead. Just don't mess with me because I know the power of the fist. You know, it's just like I was like, dude, he didn't talk like that, but it was pretty bad. And I said, "You're Pendragon, the warrior." He called himself Pen. This is what he thought he looked like right here. Look, this is what's his name from Dungeons and Dragons, right? What's his name? Goodheart or Strongheart. Anyway, that's Strongheart from Dungeons and Dragons. But I never got into it and thought I'm the Dark Lord of the Sith. You know, I didn't do all that. I knew my limitations and I could body slam you and beat you up, but that was it. It wasn't like some of these people started thinking, "I've taken 2 Taekwondo classes. Now you die." It's just like, please don't hurt me, Dark Lord, please. But that was this guy. He was like, he came over and it was a barrel of monkeys hanging out with that guy. So we started liking him and we just let him come over and drink with us because he was so goofy. And now I'm gonna tell you something funny. Okay. One day he was there in the front yard and we were all goofing around, playing around, and Starscream decided to like put him in a chokehold and whatever. So we thought this dude, Starscream at that time was one of the smaller guys. So we thought this is just some goofy kid, right? But against somebody his own level, he turned out to be pretty tough. So we had this one kid come over, and I can't remember his name. He was mouthy. He came over with DJ with Sean. You remember a little punk? He
I
comes
can't
over.
stand that guy.
Yeah, and he brought his friend, and they got mouthy. So you know how we were back in the day. We were just like, well, y'all should fight it out. And that little dude, Pendragon, started beating the crap out of him. Knocked him into our mulberry bush and was like, you want to talk crap? I was like, oh, whoa, he can actually fight. He just, he's just not like us, but he could fight. And so we were all like, yeah, man. So we took him to the bar and gave him drinks and stuff. That kid thought he was the king of the world, dude. He was working at Burger King. He thought he was the Burger King after that. He was like, I'm tough. I was at Wolf's house and I beat up another kid that was weak. But that was the good old days. That was the fun. Those were the fun times, whatever. It is what it is, man. Dork Lord. Alan Garcia says Dork Lord. I wonder whatever happened to that kid. That's some funny stories, man. Anyway, I remember getting drunk one time. This is a true story. It won't take but a minute, but I got drunk and I got really aggravated. And I went out in the front yard and I got into a fight in my underwear. Yep. When you're drunk and you're doing some stuff. I got up off the couch and I was like, well, these people are in my house. My brother brought these people over. They were like from his band or something. And this guy was just playing. And I said, dude, I'm like, you see me sitting on the couch in my underwear. I'm obviously not in the mood to have company. These people come over. And this heavy-set Hispanic dude started mouthing off. And I said, I got up and I grabbed him and I took him outside and I started punching him. Like, we got into a fight. And this guy goes, you want to take it outside? And I'm like, I'm in my underwear. I don't even bother to go and change. I'm like, fine. And then later on that evening, I got showered and dressed and went, and I got ready to go on a date. And I had this girl with me and I walked into the convenience store across the street and the manager there goes, oh yeah, we saw you fighting earlier with somebody. And I'm like, huh. I was like, yeah, I had been drinking a little bit and I was in my underwear and I just, some people came over. He goes, yeah, I saw these band looking guys bringing instruments in. He goes, and then like 5 minutes later, I see you beating one of them up in the front yard. Oh my gosh. In my underwear. Because I didn't want company.
The people that worked across the street at that Diamond Shamrock turned Valero, they were cool, man.
Yeah, they figured out that we were pretty rowdy. They figured it out pretty quick. And our dog.
Your fights were taken outside. They were just leaving it all.
Well, sometimes it was in the backyard, but it didn't matter. I didn't care. Some Mexican nationals had broken into our house one time. This is a true story. And I had a German Shepherd and a Mastiff, and they were trained. So do the math. And one of them ended up with his arm nearly completely torn off. And the police, and then they called me. I was at the club, and they said, hey, and it was the manager at the store. And he says, hey, you got, there's a guy trying to break in your house. It came, it was two guys, but the one of them, they called the EMS because his arm was hanging, and the other guy ran. But he was Mexican national, so he got deported. He lost his arm. And then my brother comes home, and there was blood all over the wall, all over the room. I'm not even joking. Those are true. It was not a good neighborhood. Yeah. And they were like, the cops, they didn't care. They were just like, whatever. He tried to break in your house, and this is what happened. And then he got arrested, and then he got deported, going back to Mexico with one arm. What happened? I tried to break in a house, and Pedro got me. Like, can you imagine?
It cost me an arm and a leg to get there.
Cost me an arm. At least I have my legs. But it's what happened. And so back in the day, it was rough trade. We were not the get along gang, dude. It was what it was, But we're not gonna have time today, Scorp, to tell yours. But we need to get you on at some point. We need to record, or we can talk about it because Scorp wants to talk about the City of Night. I'm assuming, right?
Well, I was gonna talk about some of my experiences at the house because you were talking about that earlier.
Okay. Well, we got those coming out in a book, so you can tell it to D.
I mean the one we're living in now.
Oh, I think you're talking about the one in South Austin.
No. The one we're living in now.
Okay. Well, like I said, it's already 3:36, and I gotta hit. It's midnight. I gotta hit patrol. I'm gonna let you run, and I gotta bring somebody else on real quick. All right.
All right, man.
All right. Later. Sailor, you're late to the party. I'm about to bail. I got to go work. What are you doing? You just now got here.
Sorry.
You're supposed to show us Lechusa.
I have the videos. I sent them to Maddie.
Okay.
That was.
I don't know who this Maddie that you speak of is. Who is this person? Who is that?
To Anthony.
I heard to Anthony. That's all I heard.
I mean, I have the videos. I mean, I can just download them, but I mean, I don't know if we have time. It's
Yeah, we
midnight.
got to go. But can you try to come on another night, maybe on another Monday or something, and you can jump on with us. And Chato too, you can come back and tell your stories. And everybody that was in the queue, there was a bunch of people. I'm sorry, but everybody can come back on Monday if you could. Can you do that? Maybe next Monday we'll try.
Yeah.
Sailor. Okay, thank you. I'm
that's
sorry.
fine.
I don't. What happened? Did you got abducted by aliens?
Definitely.
I'm not making light of what
I
happened
fought
to you.
on my way back.
You fought your way back from
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. We got to run though. God, I was really looking forward to seeing that. But if you could come back for sure, let's try to plan and get that done. I would love to have you come back and show everybody what you have. But I got to run, folks. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you, everybody. And Sailor, you're usually a mod here, so thank you for all that you do for us and helping us here. And we definitely want to see what you have. I'll check it
Yeah, I
out.
look forward to showing it. And thank
Yeah.
you for doing this show. It's helped me a lot. When a lot
Yeah.
of stuff you said, Wolf, I really take to heart, and it's really helped me in my own life. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. We're gonna bounce, guys. All right.
Okay.
All right. Good night. So yeah, and Lolo says Patreon, Josh. I'm not gonna have time for that. I had a few people message me and say that they weren't gonna be able to make the Patreon show. So I'm thinking there's probably not gonna be a very big crowd to go over there. So we are gonna do. But good news, if you're a Patreon member, we sent off a bunch of people's stuff today. So you're getting your stuff. We sent off over 20 giveaways today. Right?
Yep. It's a bunch of boxes.
Even to Canada, eh? They were like, "You sure you want to pay for this?" I'm like, "I have to, eh? It's a T-shirt, eh? But got to do what I got to do, eh?" And they were like, "Okay, eh?" I'm saying, let's stop that. But anyways, folks, we had a good time, right? I mean, there was a bunch of people came on, told their encounters. There was a bunch of people left in the queue. I'm sorry, apologize to you who didn't get to pop in and didn't get to finish the stories or whatever. We only have so much time, right? Time is currency here.
But we want you back next Monday.
We definitely want you back next Monday. Now, what do we have tomorrow? We don't even know what it's going to be tomorrow. Okay, so we don't know. We're gonna try and figure that out because we got to go do a bunch of stuff for work. So we don't know if we're gonna have time to record a show for tomorrow, and that's okay. We're just gonna. If we don't do it, we'll have it for you on Thursday. How about that? So, but for sure, Wednesday we'll be back. We're going to talk. I think Goatman is going to be the topic on Wednesday, right? We're going to tell Goatman encounters.
Yeah, Goatman's always popular.
Yeah, and so I think it's a Goatman from Maryland. Now, here's the interesting thing: Maryland, usually people they see this goat thing running out, chasing the car, whatever. Going back to this now, Peter Pan, right? Before I leave, I got to tell you guys, and people are dropping off here. Here's Peter Pan. He's Pan. He's with children. He abducts them and he basically tells them, "Hey, you're going to be a child forever." He's going to do it in Michael Jackson's voice. He's like, "Look, kids, y'all gonna be forever, ever, and ever. We're gonna be together.
Stay with me. We'll have fun."
He's like,
"You're gonna be child soldiers like the Power Rangers."
Are you gonna touch us? And he's like, "Ooh, no, get away, faggot ass kids. What are you talking about? That's gross. That's nasty. I'm not doing that.
Oh, no, she's a girl. There's some of this dust in your
I'm
fly.
gonna get castrated. I'm not gonna do that stuff. I'm not into that." And so that's Peter Pan. That's how he really talked right there. He said, "But let's go fly around in our underwears. Let's go to other places like Neverland. Let's get a little high. Yeah, that's what we do. That's a ticket."
Some Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys. But if you notice though, like Hook, he was after Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. Well, Hook was supposedly abducted by Peter Pan as a child.
He escaped.
And he escaped. So he was like, "This guy's a menace. We got to kill him." And they're like, "No, that's ignorant. That's just ignorant. I'm not trying to kill children. I love children. I just want to hug them and love them." And he's like, no, you're evil. And I'm going to prove it to the world that you're evil. But with my villainous smile, my notorious mustache, and my hook. And so everybody's like, this guy looks like the villain, and this other guy pretends to be this sweet whatever. So this guy must be, so they had the roles reversed. And so that's what ended up happening. Now Herbert talked like this. Get your fat ass back.
No, he had a list.
That's what I'm saying. He talked like this. And he's like, what does she say? She says, I'm a 17-year-old girl and I have no interest in what you had to say. He goes, well, you're a 17-year-old girl and I have no interest in what you.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah. And then when he got caught by the Nazis, remember? For some reason, they thought I was gay.
Yeah.
They're looking at the pictures, they look at each other, and they're like, they look at, they go and like arrest him. And he was like, he had all these pictures of guys or whatever. But Hook was the good guy, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
And so I had someone challenge that narrative on me one time. And they said, why do you think this? I said, let me tell you why. Because it was Disney. Look at Geppetto.
Oh, yeah.
The word Geppetto is right there. I mean, and he's like, he wants to build a real boy. Why do you want to be around boys? I mean, what are you doing with the real boy? You know, I've got to figure out a way to make a real boy. How can I make a boy? Why do you want a boy so bad? What
Let's
do you want
solve this mystery. How do I?
Yeah,
I want a boy
have
that
a
never
son.
lies to me.
Get with a get
like-
get with a woman. Nah.
Yeah. That could never work.
Hey, brother.
Brother,
What is this, brother?
what
would I do that? What is this? No, brother. This, not this, brother.
What is it? And whenever he, you know, there's a scene in there. I'll tell you this. There's a comic book that used to be out, and I never got to finish reading them or whatever because I had time. But what was it called? With all the different, it was called Fairy Tale. No, what was it?
Grimm's?
No. It was this book series, and it was very serious. Like they made it all serious, and they used all the fairy tale creatures, and they had a war.
Oh,
And
the graphic novels.
Yeah, and Geppetto was the villain. He was the main villain. Jeez, Louise, I wish
It
I
was
could
named after like one specific fairy tale, though, wasn't it?
remember. I don't think so. It was called like something.
Let me look that up. Dang it!
I mean, there's a game
It's a
called
good
Pinocchio
series. I just can't remember the name. of it.
where you play as Pinocchio and Geppetto
Fable. No.
is the
Fables.
Yeah,
Fables. It was called Fables.
Oh yeah, Fables.
Yeah, Fables. So Fables, if you go back and look, Geppetto was the bad guy. He was evil bastard, and Pinocchio switched sides and was like, "I'm not going to support you, Dad. You're evil." And so it was crazy. Like I'm telling you right now, though, it's flipped. The roles are reversed. And there was a scene in Pinocchio where there was like this. I don't remember. It was like a pig or some kind of something, and he was like, you know what we do? We take boys and we take them to Fantasy Island or something, but they never come back, you know? And there's like this evil fox and this other character. And they're like, oh, like they're even shocked.
Oh, it's like a donkey.
Yeah, he's not a donkey. I don't remember. You can look it up. But go look it up, dude. And I'm telling you, man, that scene where he talks about we take bad little boys and we take them to the island or something. Pleasure Island. They called it Pleasure Island.
Mm-hmm.
And just because it was made like a cartoon, people are thinking, oh, there's nothing wrong with this crap, you know? And yeah, Jake, exactly. Just like Epstein. Yeah, exactly. And you're sitting there going like, what is this? And the guy is Geppetto, you know, it's like it's all there.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, unheard of. Like, so to think that Hook was the good guy is not necessarily, it's the reverse. It's inverted.
Yeah.
But you know that our world, Jesus says that our world is run by Satan.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people with the theory that we're inverted.
Well, yeah, they did the same thing with the Beauty and the Beast, the good looking like normal human guy is the bad guy douche, and then the huge hideous monster is actually the good guy. Yeah, right. And they did the same thing with Shrek, where the big ugly nasty ogre,
Green ogre
is actually just a big teddy bear. He's misunderstood.
And the woman,
the human,
the pretty girl gets with him and
Yeah.
becomes this ugly green thing, and now she's wonderful now.
yeah. So it's like teaching kids that good is bad, bad is good, beauty is ugliness, ugliness is beauty, and you should aspire to not only be with someone who's just an ugly, nasty person inside and out, but you should aspire to be like them. Be like Princess Fiona and become a fat green ogre.
It's disgusting, and they do this, and the children eat it up
Mm-hmm.
because children don't know any better. They just want what's cool and what's current and what's hip.
Like Avatar's the same way.
And they're like, oh, we got to do this. This is what we. No, dude, it's all brainwash, and it's from one particular group of people, you know, and they're trying to just control your mind and destroy you. They destroy you. And these same group of people have this gene in them that makes them, their eyes flip around and become reptilian on camera. They're like these news people, you know, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Why is that? Why is that? They either have the DNA in them or they have the other on them. The other being the parasite. And the parasite knows that the quickest form of energy is what? It's through distressed people, people who are in pain. Why do you think that this? I think that kosher and halal butchering is so brutal and inhumane. The animal suffers and suffers, suffocating on their own blood. And that's what they do. I promise you, I swear to you on everything that is holy. I don't swear, but I'm going to swear to you. I'm going to tell you right now, this is what they're doing. I promise you, this is the truth. And they're getting, yes, low vibrational frequency, low vibrational energy. They're getting it. That's what they're doing. And children are a form of that. Look at Monsters, Inc. I'm telling you, I never was comfortable with Disney. I always thought there was something wrong. Even as a kid, I never really watched it very much. I didn't like it. There was something about it that was just off. I didn't like Pinocchio. I didn't like hardly any of it. I like the Muppets.
Pinocchio's scary. It's just scary.
It is. It's creepy, dude.
The donkey turning scene when the kid turns into a donkey.
Yeah,
that's scary.
There's some weird stuff in there, you know. And of course, you have Tinkerbell as a fairy. You know, the Fae are involved, and then they're all in it together. They're evil, and then all of these movies together. If you were to watch them one after the other, it tells a one long story. And I'm telling you, it's what they're doing to us. And they think because they give it to us in this form that we're okay, that it's okay. They can tell you this stuff. And then you're going like, oh, well, okay, it's just a movie. It's just, no, it's disclosure. There's your disclosure right there. So Wayne says, no common sense, Lev. What does that mean, Wayne? Who are you talking to? You talking to me? You saying I don't have common sense? Go back to the 30s, Wayne says. So I'm looking at his comments. I don't really know you, Wayne. I don't know who you're talking about or what are you talking about. Go back to the 30s. So he's over here talking crazy. All right. So is Wayne our friend? I don't know, Wayne. He said people. I guess he's saying people don't have common sense. Okay, Wayne. Don't boot him. We thought maybe because, you know, you get these people in there who try to come in here as trolls and do and say things. And Powerpuff Girls, Dr. Fox. Yeah, I wouldn't let my kids watch that either. The guy that made that, it was originally called Kick-Ass Girls or some kind of, not Kick-Ass. He says it, the name, it was just some kind of, like, he calls it like whoop ass or something girls or something, you know, something stupid over the top. And he did it. He admittedly, he's like, he did it so he could get his foot in the door because it was girl power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just ridiculous. It's just stupid. And that there again, you're bending the roles to try to say, you know, and it's dangerous because boys grow up thinking that girls can take a punch to the head. No, they can't. And you shouldn't do it. Some girls are tough, but a lot of them aren't because there's a thing called testosterone. They don't have it as much as boys do. And if you go to my Facebook, you'll see there was a thing I posted and not many people seen it. That's why I don't like to post too many things right together. But there was, you would, Maddie, goofy. So this thing I posted was about this guy who's about to go to prison because the state of California is putting him in jail. Because he will not allow his son to be chemically castrated by his ex-wife, who's a pediatrician, who had twin boys and decided that one of them needed to be a girl when the boy was like 2 or 3 years old. And now the state of California is forcing him to pay for the chemical castration. You think it's a joke. The world has lost its ever-flipping mind. And people sit back and they don't, you know, and that's why, you know, when people do and say the things that they do, it's like they're too busy attacking the good guys to see, you know, they don't see it. You don't see who the good guy is. You're too busy attacking them and tearing them down out of your jealousy, your demonic jealousy. That's what it is. And these people are getting more and more brazen because the evil is going unpunished. We're entering in the time of sorrows, folks. It's going to be a long road, but you have to stay the course. Thank you for being a part of PRT. We hope we can stay on the air. Financially, we hope we can stay on the air, not just because of the time and effort that we put into the show, but the powers that be. And I don't think that they're interested in what we have to say because they don't like people telling the truth. And that's pretty much it. And tonight, people spoke their piece. This is why we give them this, because we can't get to everybody. Everybody has stories. We have so many of them. We can't. There's just, we had to do this. We had to do, like I said, we had to pick one day and just let people come on and talk because we don't have enough, whatever. And so that's it. People told their tales tonight, their encounters, right? Very interesting. Somebody that went into more detail about a vampire encounter. We had somebody talking about witches and being cursed. Lee, we pray for you. We hope that you, everybody pray for Lee, that he can break that and get rid of that energy because it is a parasite. And then we had somebody from Australia, coming on and talking. And then we had another person, Clint Warwick, came on. It was very interesting stuff. Very interesting. All this stuff is real, folks. I'm telling you. And this is the real reality. And there's people out there going like, this is nuts. No, the world is nuts for sure. But you're not living in the mundane world that you thought you were, or maybe you still wish you were. Wake up to the real reality. Join us in the real reality. That should be our new catchphrase. Join us in the real reality, you stupid ass. I said, what do you think? And the producer's like, well, I don't know. It's kind of catchy, but you kind of say stupid ass at the end there. I'm like, that has to be, and that's a deal breaker if I can't do it. No. I don't know. Well, true. Maybe if you said scumbelly or something, I don't know. Maybe we could say, But anyways, it is what it is. Thank you, Rita. Appreciate that. Dr. Fox too.
Jordan
Also, Two
Cogburn.
Shadows and Jordan Cogburn.
Jordan Cogburn and Two Shadows. Thank you so much for that. But we appreciate everything you do for us, and we're going to keep working hard and doing what we do because we want you to know the real truth. Captain Hook will be avenged. Okay, I'm saying, that's just ignorant. That's an ignorant lie. That's a story. That's bad. I'm Peter Pan. I live forever, never, ever, ever land.
I'll get you next time, Peter Pan.
Hashtag justice for Hook.
Yeah, justice for Hook and the miserable lost boys. Yeah, that's right. You get them, Hook. Don't let them get away. And get it. A reptile took his hand. Think about it. All right. Until next time, folks, we love you and we'll see you. Good night.